And good morning. It is a Thursday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I am Glenn Clark. He's Griffin. And we scored as many runs as the Orioles did last night. And like I said, it was about as reverse locky as I've ever seen a game in the history of baseball. Now, I'm not telling you that I would have bet it that way. I just definitely would not have bet the Orioles. That was the point that I made to a couple people yesterday. Like, that's when I see reverse lock, I'm not as bold as to say, all right, go ahead and bet outright on the team that we don't think has a chance. But stay the hell away from the team that's the heavy favorite in that spot, because you just see this crap way too often. Luis Gil dominating the Orioles, which sets up Game 4 of the 4-game set today. And for a few reasons, kind of a pendulum swing. It's not just the idea that, like, hey, 2 games in, you thought you could sweep a 4-game set, and now you're, looking at only coming away with a split. But it goes back to that, right? Because you lost the series over the weekend. Now you're looking at, like, a potential homestand record that would be rather disappointing. I mean, you're looking at the possibility of going, if you were to lose today, you end up being sub 500, 3-4 over the course of a homestand. And that's not the end of the world, obviously. But clearly, for a team that wants to try to win a World Series and stockpile wins, do all those things, that's a disappointment. So, bit of a pendulum swing game today for the Orioles. We assume that Kyle Bradish is starting. The Orioles have not officially announced that. Now, why is that the case and everybody screams about it? You can't announce someone as your starting pitcher if they're not on the roster. So is it a little bit odd that they added John Means to the roster first? Yeah, I guess that's a little bit odd if Kyle Bradish is going to start today. Maybe they're
trying to deke the Yankees, like, oh, they only have a lefty available.
It's possible. I don't know. I don't think so. I think the Yankees I think they read the papers. Pretty sure. They also get that whole internet in New York, I think.
Get them to submit their lineup early, before.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case. Coaches try to do this with gamesmanship all the time, managers, things like that. But, like, Major League Baseball has made it clear you got to let somebody know who your starting pitcher is. That's the way that it works, because we bet on the games. I'm surprised, frankly, that they allow teams to wait this long before announcing their starting pitcher. But, again, the assumption is that it's Kyle Bradish based on the fact that they're continuing to announce it as TBD. And if it was Means, he's on the roster, they could just go ahead and announce that he was the starting pitcher. So that creates another level of excitement about today, as it's not just a big game against the Yankees. It's not just a pendulum swing type of game for a series and for a homestand. But on top of all of those things, it's the return of Kyle Bradish, which, a few weeks back, we didn't know was ever going to happen. I mean, ever. Like, I don't think that his career was over. My apologies. We didn't know it was going to happen this season.
On February, like, what was it, 1st or whatever, give or take, if someone said he was going to be starting on May 2nd, like.
Not a chance. Yeah. Not a chance in hell. So that's the exciting part. I think all of us will still have bated breath as this occurs. But so it is. So it is, as it appears as though we'll get our answer today that Kyle Bradish will be back, and then we will just see how he responds as starts go. Not a whole lot more you can say about it. Just going to have to be the type of thing that you'll watch for a little while. All right, obviously the disappointment about that. By the way, hi, Glenn Clark Radio. Today on the program, we're going to talk some Orioles. Mike Bordick's going to join us. Jake Mintz, our buddy from Yahoo Sports, noted Orioles fan, will check in with us as well. All that coming up on the program today. For those of you that, and we got a huge response, obviously, to the conversation we had with Rashad Bateman yesterday. Appreciate that a great deal. I always, as a human, it always feels good to have somebody say, hey, like your content, like what you did. I don't think I did much. I think Rashad did most of that, and greatly appreciate Rashad and both coming on the show and being so open and so candid. And As I told a few of you on social media yesterday, I was so caught off guard a couple of times that, like, you could almost hear in the interview that I was trying to figure out how I wanted to follow up. One of the things that I've always tried to do with this show and every show that I do is, instead of just writing out, here are the questions and I'm going to ask them in order, is try to be human and have a conversation. Follow up on something that someone said. And you get very used to getting sort of generic stock answers sometimes that you think you want to go one direction, and then the answers that I was getting from Rashad were so different and so thoughtful and so unique that I was trying to find myself walking through how I wanted to follow up as the words were coming out of my mouth a couple of times. He, as all of you heard and all of you felt, so the accountability, which, again, I don't even know how I feel about, because you guys know I'm a Rashad Bateman guy. I think Rashad Bateman has largely done his job when he's been on the field. The ball just hasn't come his way. Now, to his point about his connection with Lamar Jackson, he says, hey, I'll put that on me. I got to be there. I got to be with him. I got to be working with him for him to have that comfort. Okay, well, he says that's going to happen this offseason. Our buddy Brian McFarland from Russell Street Report, Ravens salary cap, got us a few more details about the contract. And essentially, it's a one-year deal, more or less. The details are, for 2024, he has a base salary of $1 million, cap charge of 3.8. Next year, the base salary is 3.75. The dead money is 2.296. So if the Ravens really wanted to get out of it, they could. Now, the base salary is so low that it seems unlikely that they want to get out of it, short of him being, incapable of playing. That's such a low figure, and the cap charge is only 5.1. So I guess that's the more important number. Cap charge is $5.1 million. So there's $2.8 million worth of cap savings that could be had, but it's not such a significant figure that it feels like they'd be in a race to do it. The following year, it's a $6.5 million cap savings. The third year, it's absolutely things have to be going really well at that point for the third year to kick in. It's a 1 to 2 year deal with if this is going great, the third year would kick in. However, at that point, if things are going great and you're Rashad Bateman, you're probably demanding a new deal at that point. So the likelihood is somewhere in between those things. There's only so many things we can say. Today, you can't figure out if Rashad Bateman's going to have a huge year for the Baltimore Ravens. It's impossible. How can we possibly know that? But, for the people that think that perhaps he was humbled, I don't know. I've never found Rashad Bateman. The way that you guys talk about Rashad Bateman is so weird to me. We've had ironically, Rashad Bateman came on with us, before and after he got drafted by the Baltimore Ravens. We had him out to do Tyus' show last year. I've never had a negative interaction with Rashad Bateman. I've always liked the guy. Now, part of that is I like him as a football player, and I acknowledge that. But if you think that the answer is he was humbled by this mistake that was made last year, whether it was him or his representation at the time, Jason Lockenfora keeps pushing that it was him. He says the representation was telling him don't do this, and he did it anyway. I don't know enough about that in order to get into it. And in fairness, looking at things that happened in the past, I'm not sure how much that matters. The Ravens might not have picked up his fifth-year option anyway. So to say he left a bunch of money on the table, well, maybe he did, or maybe not. Maybe the Ravens would have always said, "Nah, we're good. We'll let this be your prove-it year, and we'll go from there." It might very well be that this is kind of no different than it would have been for Rashad Bateman. I don't know. I would have been surprised by that. I think they would have picked up his fifth-year option only because I think you guys keep underestimating what the value of wide receivers is. But if that's your takeaway, is that he was humbled by it, and that's the attitude that you see from him now, I don't know. Maybe, or maybe Rashad Bateman's a good guy. I've always liked him. I don't know what to make of it. I appreciated his comments. I appreciated all the feedback. Maybe we'll do this more often. I don't know. Ask if he wants to. We'll see. But got a lot of feedback for that, and I appreciated it yesterday. Now, on to the Ravens. Very quickly after the show ended yesterday, on to the Orioles, I meant to say. I guess I should tell everybody that today's show is brought to you by Atman's Deli. Atman's Harbor Point, now open. It is the best place to hang out, watch games, because on top of everything you love about the original Atman's Deli, and who doesn't love Atman's Deli, it is an absolute institution in our community. But on top of the original Atman's Deli, they now also have at this new location a full bar. The best. All of the food, all of the corned beef, the deli sandwiches, the pickle bar, the hot dogs, and daily specials, which you can find every day at atmansdeli.com in a cool, vibrant neighborhood in Harbor Point. Got to check out the new Atman's Deli in Harbor Point. atmansdeli.com is the website. So just after the show ended yesterday, for a second straight week, one of our Would You Rather Wednesday scenarios gets blown up as we don't have to worry about what the Orioles are going to do to make room in the rotation. I mean, they still have to. By the way, they did officially make the Kyle Bradish move. Kyle Bradish officially activated and will be the Orioles starting pitcher. Stunner! Who saw that coming? Kyle Bradish will be the Orioles starter today. And yes, Yohan Ramirez, as we all assumed, he's the guy to go. Yohan Ramirez, designated for assignment. There was no way he was surviving the week. I understand the frustration the people had about Dylan Tate. But Yohan Ramirez was not going to survive the week. Now, as it turns out, someone else does get reprieve based on the fact that yesterday, immediately when the show ended, Grayson Rodriguez went to the injured list as well. Now, that's a bummer because Grayson Rodriguez had been pitching well. At the same time, and we discussed this at length, just Griffin and I, after the show was over, and I started to see the internet have the exact same conspiracy theories. The question is just how hurt really is Grayson Rodriguez? What I would say is I find it very hard to believe there's nothing. I find that difficult to believe. Someone who has pitched well to start the season, yes, I get that it's convenient because it means that you don't have to make another decision. The easy decision is Suarez to the bullpen. This prevents you from having to make another decision today about Cole Irvin or Dean Kramer. It allows John Means to come back into the rotation. You presume he starts tomorrow in Cincinnati. That's convenient. But you don't prioritize convenience over quality. And Grayson Rodriguez was giving you quality. So I don't believe there's nothing. The question would be, if Cole Irvin and Dean Kramer weren't pitching well, would the same decision have been made? Or could Grayson Rodriguez have pitched through the discomfort that he had? Fair question. And combining it with the fact that the Orioles still aren't fully there yet innings-wise with Grayson Rodriguez, is it all kind of convenient? I saw a couple people, including our old friend Ryan. God, I love Ryan, but Ryan, know that I love you, but sometimes you're up. Like Ryan was like, it looks like he found that Ubaldo Jimenez pothole. No, this is not remotely similar to that. No, not in the same stratosphere.
I mean, it's possible that he just did fall into it, actually did.
No, I don't think that's the case. It's not that.
Just landed
Ubaldo Jimenez was not pitching well. They just wanted to get him out of the rotation. The notion they wanted to get Grayson. How did Grayson Rodriguez do his last time out?
I believe he didn't allow a run.
In 5 2/3 innings?
That is correct. Against the Yankees.
I get it. The start before that was not good. We all saw that. But the last time we saw him, he faced one of the better offenses in
I
baseball?
believe so.
And it went
pretty well.
Okay. No. They didn't purposely create an injury to get Grayson Rodriguez out of the rotation. But what you're trying to say is, was it necessary? Or was it something they felt like they could do and perhaps even worked in concert with Grayson Rodriguez to say, hey, man, at some point this year, we were probably going to ask you to rest anyway because we want to make sure that you can get through the season, which we believe could end up going until November. And so in order to make sure we do that, at some point this year, we were going to ask you to skip a couple of starts or make an injured list appearance. And if he did say after the start against the Yankees, I feel a little sore, that might be the exact opening for them to have that conversation. And I can't lose my mind about it because I believe they were going to have to do something at some point. And whether this was necessary or not, it might just be kind of serendipitous. I think it's okay because you do want to have Grayson Rodriguez for the entirety of the year. By the way, it's also possible this is all really legitimate. Like, that's the other part of it that we got to, like, it's easy for us to traipse into conspiracy. And the conspiracy is not even really conspiracy. It's, hey, this would be kind of a smart idea. But it is possible that this is on the up and up. And if that's the case, then it's a little bit more concerning, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, because you look around and all the hard-throwing pitchers around baseball
everybody
that have gone down in the first month.
I think I heard that on Baltimore Baseball Tonight last night on 105.7 that Ryan Ripken brought that up. Jeff Passan, I guess, had passed that along, that like 9 of the top 10 velocity throwers
from a year ago.
Yeah, had all now made IL stints. If not, obviously out for the season. So yeah, I mean, that part of it, perhaps concerning. I don't think you want Grayson Rodriguez to stop being the gas man anytime soon. So I don't have a huge take here. My take is, if it's completely legit, if it really is not something they were planning on doing, if the plan really was going to be Cole Irvin's going out of the rotation or Dean Kramer's going out of the rotation for a little bit, and legitimate discomfort and soreness is the reason why he's headed to the injured list, that's something that the Orioles are going to have to monitor, and we're going to have to monitor for a little while, because that, whenever you hear that, you're going to have real concern. If it's just general soreness, by the way, did a hell of a job in Afghanistan, and we appreciate your service. Thank you, General. If it's just general soreness, you're not as panicked about it. But I still don't think we can say, hey, maybe it's a conspiracy theory, but it also just might be a good decision, and one that the Orioles were going to have to consider at some point this year. So why not consider it when everybody in the rotation is dealing and you've got fresh arms coming back? This would be the time to consider it. Now, you might feel a little silly if Cole Irvin and Dean Kramer proceed to get rocked in their next couple of starts, but it's 15 days. You can have Grayson Rodriguez back fairly quickly, and then you can make whatever decision you want to make with those guys. But right now, they're pitching well enough that I am not terribly concerned about those prospects. We'll talk more about this with Mike Bordick here in just 1 second, as it is a Thursday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. Don't forget, County Sports Zone is brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. We are into the final weeks of the academic year at the high school level, which means championship season for spring sports. Boys and girls lacrosse, baseball, softball, both the public and private school levels. In the coming weeks, they will be determining champions. And for all of the latest scores, schedules, the brackets when they become available, everything you need to know, you can find it at County Sports Zone. Countysports.zone is the website. everything you need to know about high school sports in the area. Find it right there. And County Sports Zone is always proudly brought to you, by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. All right, talking Orioles on a Thursday morning here in Baltimore. Joining us now on GCR, of course, an Orioles Hall of Famer, part of Baltimore baseball tonight on 105.7 The Fan, and all of the other wonderful things that Mike Bordick does for our community. Mike Bordick, good morning, my friend. How are you?
I'm great, Glenn. How are you today?
Everything is good, man. Other than the fact that the Orioles couldn't muster any offense last night. Everything besides that is really good. It always seems to work that way, Mike. I don't know how to explain it. I said it yesterday. It's you look at on paper, the Orioles are rolling. Corbin Burns is on the mound. They're facing some guy named Luis Heel. You're like, this one's I don't know what it is about baseball. It always feels like it ends up working out the way that it did last night.
Yeah, isn't it crazy? Yeah, and I mean, we all kind of expected more offense in this whole series, and it's been a pitching duel since game one. So, everybody a little bit surprised. Both offenses, best in baseball, arguably, big-time power numbers from both teams, and both really kind of quiet. I even think that base hit last night, I felt like there was a matrix glitch or something. That thing was supposed to be a foul ball or at least off the wall, and it sticks right there and into fair territory.
It's unbelievable.
Crazy.
Unbelievable. All right, Mike, let's cover a couple things because I heard you guys talking about it last night on BBT, the decision with Grayson Rodriguez. It's a weird thing for me where, like, if it is completely legit, completely on the up and up, then I'm a little bit more concerned. If it's not, if it's like a convenient time we wanted to do this at some point this season anyway, I'm good with that. Like, you want Grayson Rodriguez to be available to you in October, and he's still not there yet innings-wise to have full confidence in that. If he was dealing with a little bit of general soreness like a lot of guys do, I don't have any problem with this being the decision because at some point this season they were probably going to have to look at either a DL stint or skipping some starts anyway.
No, I agree, and I tend to lean in that I'm not that serious about this. I just feel like it's a little bit of a break. There may have been some soreness, but certainly don't want to push the envelope and just where they are right now. They need to free up some arms so that they don't have to actually lose arms when they start moving guys around to fill in for Bradish and John Means when they come back. So this is an opportunity to extend that kind of period. Then maybe they can think a little bit more about what they're going to have to do because, trust me, no team wants to lose arms now. So
right.
They've got to find a way to kind of manage this so that they can still stay strong with their depth.
I don't, before this yesterday, did you have a preference for what they would have done? Like, they could do 6 men this week. They obviously couldn't keep a 6-man rotation because they have 2 off days next week, which is insane, and I'll scream about that for the rest of my life. That should never be a thing. So they weren't going to be able to keep going that way. Did you have a preference for what the decision would have been had they not put Grayson Rodriguez on the injured list?
Well, I guess not. I think it was all kind of a mystery how they were going to move guys around, where they were going to end up, whether they be, long bullpen pieces or what. And of course, we're talking about Cole Irvin and
right.
Suarez, right? The odd guys out, and how they're going to be able to still benefit this team. I wish they would stick with Cole Irvin in the rotation. I think this team needs, just more lefty availability to eat up some innings. I know John Means is coming back. Listen, there are no guarantees, with either Bradish or Means. I know they wouldn't bring him back if they weren't 100% ready. So there's excitement there. But like I said, I think the depth that this team has kind of created, it would be a shame to be able to lose an arm. I think the guys out in the bullpen, though, there are a couple guys that you don't know what their value is. And I think here in the early going, we see how good this team is. We know that the window of opportunity to be consistently strong and win, especially in the American League East, that window closes up pretty quick. So now's the time to win. So I think it's just that everybody's concerned about how the bullpen's going to possibly shake out. But you can't just have, like, dead arms out there, arms that aren't used.
Right.
They need to have, the full, arsenal of the bullpen available. So they were under the last couple days, and I'm surprised they've been able to hold together as well as they have.
I feel like that's the unwritten part about this is it feels like one of these guys has to become a reliable bullpen arm for them moving forward. And I don't want to hit the panic button about Craig Kimbrell. It was obviously not a great weekend, although, hey, Ryan McKenna probably should have caught the ball on Friday night. But it feels like they could still use one more like truly reliable arm, and I think a lot of us believe that could be Tyler Wells when he returns from the injured list. But it just feels like, Bordy, they need one of this group, one of these odd men out has to become a reliable part of like their A bullpen moving forward this season, and they still might need to acquire someone when it comes July.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think Tyler Wells is a perfect candidate for the back end. I also think Suarez could be a monster back there. He already throws, extremely hard. We've seen him, swinging this stuff, great changeup, live fastball, and, say, okay, you got 3 guys to get. I can just imagine his fastball velocity going up a click and him just becoming a bulldog out there. So I'm kind of intrigued by that possibility. But I know there's some minor league guys that, could possibly get an opportunity as well. But like I said, it goes back to the fact you don't want to all of a sudden put big league arms, even though they may not be doing great right now, out there and designate them for assignment because they get gobbled up. Every guy needs every team needs arms. Period.
Yeah, it's funny. Every time I talk to somebody, I'm like, "Hey, how concerned are you about the Orioles bullpen?" They'll say, "Yeah, I'm concerned," but like. Everybody that I would talk to in every other market in the country would say they're concerned about their bullpen as well. Everybody in baseball that's the reality.
Yeah. Oh, well, there's no doubt about it. I will say that there's just a little bit more concern after the weekend and now Kimbrell's availability.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't all of a sudden say, okay, he blows a few saves. We got to give him a week off. Are you kidding me?
Right.
I mean, everybody wants routine out there in the bullpen. They want some roles. I believe in Kimbrell. I know he obviously he's proven, and I think he can get on rolls, but I just think they have to kind of manage that time. They're doing a great job right now managing Adley Rutschman. They're catching McCann. McCann's doing a great job back there, but I think they can do a better job, out there as well with Kimbrell because he was used quite a bit that first month of the season.
Mike Bordick is with us here on GCR. Bordy, just because you brought up Rutschman, I just feel like we still need to keep talking about this, right? Like, the season that he's having, and I know we're only a month in, and I don't want to overreact to something, but this is, when the comparisons were made to Buster Posey or, Joe Mauer, who I think he still catches a little bit more than Joe Mauer, but this really is the type of guy that we should talk more about when we use the word valuable in MVP. The insanity of someone who is producing like this at the plate, who's also a catcher, is I don't know that valuable even does enough to describe what it is that Adley Rutschman has done so far this season.
No, he's been so much fun to watch, and he's been kind of gone under the radar, believe it or not. I mean, he's just so consistent from both sides of the plate, and obviously catches a great game as well. He's certainly the team leader, but when you all of a sudden have a week where Colton Cowser's the player of the week, and then Jordan Westburg's the player of the week, and Gunnar Henderson has all of a sudden become a front runner for MVP, all the publicity and the hoopla kind of gets pushed aside, and everybody forgets a little bit about Adley Rutschman and how he is really the true cornerstone and foundation of this team. I mean, ever since he arrived in the big leagues, the whole organization changed. It was like an awakening, and everybody's gotten on Adley's back as a great leader. He's a great character guy, and I think guys follow him, and they follow the way he goes about his business, puts together great at-bats every night, and he's a stud on this team for sure.
I feel like I'm guilty as part of this, Bordy. We have this board behind me in the studio where I put up, we call it man of the match, the player of the game from the night before. Adley Rutschman isn't up on the board yet from this season, and yet he's the MVP of the team, right? Like, it's insane. Yeah. It's totally insane. A lot of consternation. I know he was in the lineup last night, and he got a hit about Heston Kjerstad being here and not being used much. And, look, we knew this was going to be an issue, Bordy. Like, when they brought him up, and, hey, this is the good problem to have thing, you got nothing but how do you get all of these guys in against righties? Like, you have too many, and I know there can never be too many, but specifically because you want him to adjust to the big league level and the big league pitching, what have you made about the minimal usage of Heston Kjerstad since he's been here?
Yeah, pitchers have to make those adjustments, and there's never, like I just said, we always need pitching. Well, you can have too many players that can cause log jams, and this is one of those cases where, Kjerstad, his defense he's been labeled a poor defender. Brandon Hyde has not literally, but I mean, you can kind of read between the lines that he doesn't really trust him out there because he's got better players right now, right? I know Kjerstad's torn it up in AAA, but this is the big leagues, man. You want guys that you trust out there, guys, because you give big league teams extra opportunities. I mean, look at how the Orioles won the last couple of days because the Yankees defense was just
awful.
Very suspect.
Awful.
Big league teams take advantage of those kind of mistakes. I would love to see him play more if the opportunity, arose, but I just can't see it. I think he's just kind of stuck, and it's unfortunate for him. And, maybe the Orioles got to have, a little bit better understanding of, some of the players that they can control, guys that are, just lifelong bench guys. But it's unfair when you got a young player that could potentially be an everyday player, maybe on a different team, just kind of collecting rust on the bench.
I know that we've talked about it with you before. Is it weird to you, and we can talk about Jackson in a second, but when they sent down Jackson Holiday, I'm just still confused about why not Connor Norby. And I get the argument could be defense and maybe, but it's not like Ramon Arias has been the guy that he was defensively 2 years ago. And the metrics all say that he's actually been bad defensively since then. I still love the way he plays, but is it odd to you that they haven't ever given Connor Norby a look when it seems like there would be at-bats available for him and his skill set a little bit different than, the loaded number of lefties that you have in the lineup?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple different ways to look at that. Maybe they're afraid that Norby's going to be great, and then what do you do with Jackson Holiday?
Again, I call that a good problem, Mike. I can't.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I also think that, this is an opportunity where, they were a little bit short, and I think they are a little bit in the infield now, as good as, Westberg is at moving from second to third base. I think everybody would like that kind of consistency and continuity where guys could lock into their position. But why not bring Norby up and just see if he can handle it, if he can handle the bright lights, the pressure, and if nothing else, just getting him to the big leagues increases his trade value because now you're not trading a AAA guy.
Right.
You're trading a former big league player, right? So I would think that the Orioles would be thinking about that because, not only are they a team that's loaded with great talent and every team is kind of looking at them to who they'll possibly trade, but they also have to be in the market and understand how to increase value of their own players so that they can bring some guys back and kind of keep this sustainable success. So, I was a little surprised Norby didn't get called up because then all it did is made a logjam in the outfield.
Bordy, what's your dog's name?
Emmy.
Emmy, what's going on, Emmy? How are you?
Yeah, Emmy's a newfie doodle. She's big half-breed. Unbelievable how big she is.
That's about that. That sounds, knowing the type of man you are, that sounds exactly like the type of dog that you should have, Mike Bordick. That sounds exactly right.
Sure.
Let me go back to Jackson for a second. I didn't have a problem. I really didn't. I think this team has to value winning. I think that's the reality. They've got to care about trying to win a World Series, and I cannot get all that worked up about sending down someone with prolonged struggles. I also just don't think that it breaks someone. I think you and I have talked about this before. If that's what breaks you, then I think something was always going to break you. Great players have been sent down and have responded to it just fine. But what do you want to see? When is it time to have him back up and try again? What uniquely do you feel like he needs to do before they would say, hey, let's give this another shot with Jackson Holiday at the major league level?
Well, obviously, just find some more consistency at the plate. And he was super consistent all through spring training. He was super consistent his first month in AAA. And so what happened at the big league level? And I think just kind of psychologically, he was just trying to do a little bit too much. So he became a swinger and not a hitter.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I know that, in the minor leagues, maybe the balls don't move as much. I say bull crap. I think they're great pitchers down there. So you still got to have that extra focus to the point of contact, stay through the ball, and have the ability to use the whole field. And I think when he can kind of show that, just a little bit more plate discipline and not think you have to hit a 3-run home run every time you step up to the plate and just have more controlled at bats, I think that's when he'll, they'll say green light. He's ready to go. He's just got better, he's staying connected more at the plate. He's getting the barrel to the ball, that kind of good stuff. He may get another opportunity. And that's what everybody's hope is because, he is such a sensational young talent.
All right, so every time we talk, there's always something new, something different that you're involved with. I'm so excited about the Mike Bordick scholarship, and I said this on Twitter, like, you're not from here, Mike. The fact that you have made this your home and have cared so deeply and desperately about this city really does genuinely mean a lot to me. Can you tell everybody a little bit more about the Mike Bordick scholarship and the whole run through of everything you got going on?
Yeah. Hey, thanks for that. Well, yeah, I'm the ambassador for the baseball warehouse. So I give clinics. I go do talks at schools. A lot of fun stuff like that. I love to talk to parents about their kids. I do have a little bit of experience there, having 6 kids of my own. So, and all going through youth baseball. But the goal of the scholarship, obviously, is to give kids opportunities to come to these clinics, enjoy the great game of baseball. Who knows? Maybe they learn a couple things from some of the great pros that teach there. So it's all about kind of spreading the word, the importance of athletics, and for kids to stay involved in sports and parents too. And in my opinion, if you want a good foundation for a young man or woman, I think sports is the way. It's incredible character building skills. It teaches you how to work with a team. And more importantly, it teaches you about sportsmanship and respect, for the game and for your opponents. So really proud to be a part of that. Honored that Matt Morris thought enough of me to, put my name on a scholarship for the baseball warehouse. So that certainly means a lot to me. And of course, the League of Dreams, we're staying active. We just had a great event at Catonsville Community College where, we're building a stronger and stronger partnership with their students and their student athletes. And the kids, obviously, that go attend there with special needs. So we had a basketball and a baseball clinic. It was a riot, man. The kids loved it. And I'm talking all the kids loved it. So the basketball players came out, softball and baseball, and Catonsville Community College was kind enough to host that. And we're looking to try to expand and get to the other, regional community colleges to give kids more opportunities to play sports and just be more active. And it's a great community builder as well. So pretty excited about that. And then, of course, Baltimore baseball tonight, man, with Bob Haney. Always awesome to talk about the Orioles.
Love you, brother. Always appreciate you and everything that you do for our community. And I'm telling you, my 9-year-old and 6-year-old started playing baseball for the first time this year. They converted from lacrosse. And what it's done for them and their confidence and their joy, it means a lot to me as a dad. So I know everything that you're talking about there, man. It is
yeah.
It's an emotional feeling. Always appreciate you, bro. Thanks for doing this. Let's talk again real soon, all right?
Sounds good. Appreciate you. Thank you.
It's Mike Bordick, of course, Orioles Hall of Famer, 105.7 The Fan, and all the other things that he mentioned. Just something heavy that I'm going to bring up here for a second before we go to break. I think a lot of you know that I'm involved with Stevenson University and have been for over a decade now, and it's a place that means a lot to me personally. You don't spend a decade somewhere and not have it become part of you and part of who you are. I mean, I'm a decade in now at Pressbox, and it means a lot to me. The personal relationships become really significant, and we had a really emotional night last night at Stevenson. They won their MAC Commonwealth semifinal in a crazy game. They beat Messiah 26-19. You don't see a lot of 45-goal games often, and games where the losing team had a 7-0 run at one point. Like, it's just not something that you see a lot in lacrosse. On top of that, it was really good news for Stevenson. They're going to be able to host the conference championship game on Saturday night because the top seed York lost at home. So Stevenson gets to host the conference championship game on Saturday night as they try to get back to the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2021. And so a lot of excitement, a lot of joy involved with that. But it becomes a bit more measured and muted because of a really scary situation that's going on. A legendary Stevenson lacrosse player who went on to play professionally and represented Australia in international competitions. Callum Robinson, the big Aussie defenseman, is currently missing in Mexico, and it's an international news story. He and his brother and a friend were on a surfing trip, and Big Cal is a type 1 diabetic, and so there's heightened concern because of the medical need that he has. I don't think that anybody here in this audience is likely to have any information, but sharing it and spreading it and retweeting it and trying to get it into other places in the universe where someone might see it and might know something and be able to help. I don't think I know anybody in Mexico that would know anything about the whereabouts of Callum Robinson, but do I know somebody who knows 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 somebody? And that's the idea of asking for people to retweet things or to share something, is that eventually perhaps it does get somewhere to somebody who sees it. We're terrified within the Stevenson lacrosse family, and it's shaken up a lot of people. And Cal, one of the best guys, he came and he sat in as my broadcast partner a few times and is just one of the most pleasant and joyful people, a damn good lacrosse player, and just a happy, happy dude. And my heart, my thoughts are very much with Cal and his family and everyone in the Stevenson lacrosse family. And just I retweeted it this morning. If you go to my Twitter account, I know there's also a prominent soccer player, I believe, named Callum Robinson, so it might be difficult if you search Callum Robinson because you might get something there. But, if you search Callum Robinson lacrosse, you'll be able to come up with the stories. It is an international news story because of him being from Australia and it occurring in Mexico. So if you search Callum Robinson lacrosse or Callum Robinson missing, something like that, you'll find the story, and just sharing it to try to continue to get it into the ether, to try to figure out if we can get it to someone who knows something, would be appreciated and helpful. And I can't tell you how difficult these moments are for everyone related to Stevenson University and Stevenson lacrosse. So, that's our simple ask, is that you consider clicking share or retweet or whatever. We'll come back in. We still got a lot to do on the program today. More Orioles conversation with Jake Mintz. We'll get into fighting words today as well. That's all coming up here on GCR.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Discover one of Baltimore's hidden gems at Guilford Hall Brewery. Enjoy dinner in our spacious brew pub, sip a signature cocktail in our outdoor dog-friendly beer garden, or take a tour of our brewery. Discover your new favorite local craft beer. From crisp lagers to hoppy ales, there's something for everyone to enjoy. Pair your brew with delicious appetizers and entrees. There are options for the whole family, but you have to try our fan-favorite giant pretzel. Guilford Hall Brewery, where every sip is a celebration. Visit us online at guilfordhall.com.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
Oh, honey, we better stop for gas soon. Let's pull into that Royal Farms.
Ugh, gas is so expensive.
Nope, it'll be cheaper than you think.
Why's that?
I signed up for Rofo Pay on the Royal Farms app. Now we save 15 cents per gallon at all Royal Farms.
Wow, that'll save us a ton of money. I love you more every day.
Well then, don't get a speeding ticket this trip, okay?
Sign up for Rofo Rewards and upgrade to Rofo Pay and save 15 cents a gallon on gas for a limited time. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Craving that classic New York deli experience? Look no further than the new Atman's Deli in Baltimore's Harbor Point. Corned beef piled high, hand-rolled bagels, and something different. A bar! Atman's has food and drink specials every day. Now open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Dine in, grab takeout, or hang out at the bar for the next O's game. Atman's Deli, an authentic taste of Baltimore tradition since 1915. Find us at Harbor Point or visit atmansdeli.com.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis. AJMichaels.com.
Hungry? With 7 locations throughout Maryland, Glory Days Grill is always right around the corner. They have wings, burgers, salads, sandwiches, and drinks to satisfy everyone, as well as tons of televisions and sound delivered right to your phone. Glory Days is the best place to watch football or whatever your favorite sport is. While you're there, be sure to check out Goose Flights Lager, named in honor of legendary Raven Tony Goose Siragusa. $2 of every can is donated to the Goose Flights Foundation. Glory Days Grill. Great food, good sports.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue on a Thursday edition of the program. Fortunately, not really much to be said about the NBA playoffs from last night. 2 dog games. The Celtics finish off the Heat. Kind of bizarre that they ever lost a game in that series considering who the Heat didn't have. That's a bummer. Could have been a really exciting series. Could have been one of the more marquee must-watch things in the first round of the playoffs, but it just didn't work out that way. Celtics move on. They now await the winner between Cleveland and Orlando, which also kind of feels like a dog series, unfortunately. I just think that we're all ignoring Cleveland until one of them proves that they can compete with Boston. I think we're all going to have the assumption that they can't. And so I just don't think there's going to be a lot of excitement about that series. I think of the 4 conference semifinals, even not knowing yet who it's going to be in some circumstances, that'll probably be the least interesting one. Good news for Griffin, as it does look less likely that either Damian Lillard or Giannis will be able to play tonight in Game 6. If it ends up being Indiana, like that one, the problem is that one could end up being a little uninteresting. I think it'll be as good as it seems to be. I think it's slightly more interesting than Boston and whoever they play. I guess there's still some ramifications there. Like, can Philly complete a comeback, and can they get in, and then does their story become more compelling? New York's story feels compelling because the New York media is forcing it upon us. I am still not a believer that New York is a champion. Like, I guess this is the crazy part to me. If New York plays Indiana, I absolutely think they can win that series. I don't think Boston's quite as good as their win-loss record would suggest they are. So I don't think it's impossible they could win that series. So all of a sudden, you're in the NBA Finals. And, like, the hype was justified at that point because you reached the NBA Finals. I just don't think it matters because I don't think that they're capable of beating anybody in the West. I don't know that anybody
in the West, they can't beat anyone. I mean, I guess we all assume.
Yeah, I mean, I'm out on. I'm now, as I said before, I'm more 50-50 between Denver and Minnesota. I think so much of Minnesota's defense after watching them play. We were talking to Tony Massenberg the other night on NBA on 105.7 The Fan, and I'm like, I don't know how to describe it, and he said they're the best team in the West. And part of that too is that, like, how pedestrian Denver looked against the Lakers. Like, they won
in 5 games,
but they've trailed at the half in all 5 games. They needed late heroics. It was weird.
I don't think Jokic has tied his shoelaces yet. So, like,
that's true. Maybe you could argue that he hasn't started trying, and that once he really starts trying, but they just, I don't know. They didn't look themselves. And Jamal Murray, this is the eternal issue with the Nuggets. How healthy is Jamal Murray? If he's fully healthy, I think they're the team to beat. if he's banged up and playing through it, Minnesota's really good. They are really, really good. And as I think this series could serve to be the true coming out party for Anthony Edwards as a separated superstar from this next era group of players. There's been a lot made about SGA and Doncic, and obviously Jokic has already separated himself a little bit. There's been a lot of attention paid to John Morant. That's been hit or miss. Jason Tatum, I don't even know where Jason Tatum and Joel Embiid are between generations. But of this next-gen group, Anthony Edwards is, to me, the most separated of them. And I think that will be on full display, potentially, in the coming weeks. But that's the market. Look, that's the one, right? The one that will get the overwhelming majority of attention and conversation will be Denver, Minnesota. Secondarily is Dallas won in blowout fashion last night, which was nice because it allowed me to finish Baby Reindeer. Shout out Jeremy Kahn. I guess we're back to believing it's going to be Dallas because they're up 3-2 in that series. They get to go back home to try to finish it off. Dallas, Oklahoma City also is really good. It's not quite as good as Denver, Minnesota, but it's also really good. I think there'll be a lot of attention paid to that. And we got to see the ramification. I think it'll go in order of excitement. Denver, Minnesota obviously won. Oklahoma City, Dallas, or the Clippers 2. Whatever it ends up being between Indianapolis, Milwaukee, New York, Philadelphia. I think it's New York, Indianapolis. They're both up 3-2 in their series, but we'll see. Whatever that is, I think is third, and then I think Boston, whoever is fourth, just because nobody believes that either of those teams are beating Boston. On paper, that will change, obviously, if interesting things start happening in those other series, and that can change the excitement level around them. A lot of hullabaloo about what's going on in Philly tonight. First of all, kind of freaking bizarre that they're playing the game at 9 o'clock. How did this happen?
Well, they're starting the Pacers game at 6:30.
It's
right?
6:30.
So
Now, Indianapolis is in the...
It's the Eastern time zone.
Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember from all the trips that I made to Indianapolis.
Michigan and Indiana are both Eastern.
I knew Michigan was. I did not know that Indianapolis was.
Maybe there's a part of Indiana that is, but Indianapolis is East.
Okay. So one of these games was going to have to start a little bit later, or they were going to have to start one of them terribly early. I don't know why they wouldn't have just done a 6 o'clock. They did a 5:30 game last Friday in the playoffs. Why not just start one of them at 6 o'clock so that the other one doesn't start at 9? I get it. The college basketball games start at 9, but college basketball games are over in 2 hours. So it's a little bit different. NBA games tend to go more like 2.5. In the playoffs, especially with all of the replays, some of them have been dragging out even longer than that recently.
More timeouts and
but
have to use all of them.
But that part isn't the really weird part. It's weird that they ended up with two East. How they didn't toggle this. So you have an Eastern Conference and a Western Conference game. I guess it's because
there's only one West Coast.
There's 3 Eastern Conference series that are still going on, and only I guess that's really what happened here. Whatever.
Blame the Pelicans and the Suns for losing.
Yeah, the jerks.
And the Lakers for losing so quickly. Entertain us.
Apparently, because of what happened over the weekend, if you missed it, a lot of Knicks fans traveled down to Philadelphia. And they called it a takeover. I don't know because I don't have stats to prove this. I don't know what percentage of the arena was Philly fans, what percentage of the arena was New York fans, but it's abundantly clear there were an awful lot of New York fans in the arena. And so the owners of the Philadelphia 76ers purchased 2,000 tickets from the inventory themselves. Of whatever is it Wells Fargo? Is that what they call the arena now in Philly? They change it so frequently.
Do they?
It's been the First Union Center. It's been the Wachovia Center. It's had a bunch of different names. I don't know. Maybe it's been Wells Fargo for a little while. I don't know. I've only been up once in the last long. I went up to see Mariah Carey in December. That's the last time I've been there, and I hadn't been there in a few years before that. So
blew you away.
Moral of the story is They bought 2,000 tickets themselves, and they're giving them to first responders in Philadelphia to try to make sure that those seats will be for Philly fans and not for
New York.
Apparently, the Carolina Hurricanes have tried doing something not similar, but like they want the same outcome, where their ticketing site has blocked people because I guess the Carolina Hurricanes are playing the New York Islanders in the NHL playoffs, where their ticketing site has made it so that you cannot purchase a ticket unless you have a zip code in the Carolinas, like either North or South Carolina.
So that seems a little...
I don't know what the laws are, man. I don't know how this works. It might very well be that, like, they have every right. It's like that. It's like every time you think that something that happens on an airline is criminal, you're like, there's no way this can be legal. Immediately someone says, flip over your airline ticket and see just how legal it is. Like, it's like there's no law whatsoever in an airplane, on an airplane. They can do whatever the F they wanted. They could beat you senseless for no reason at all. And somebody would say, well, that can't be legal. And then you'd flip over your ticket and you'd see, we can beat you senseless no matter what you do just because we want to. It's just weird how that works. And so it might very well be that when it comes to ticketing, it's the exact same scenario, that they can do whatever they want to do whenever they want to do it. I don't know. It feels that way based on all the charges that I get whenever I try to buy a ticket to anything. It feels like they're legally allowed to do whatever they want. A lot of shade being thrown at the 76ers for, oh, this is embarrassing. You have to give away your tickets in order to make sure you get fans there. That's weak. The obvious answer is it ain't that deep. It just ain't that deep. It's a basketball game. Like, it's just not worth getting up about. If you really want to have the conversation, you can kind of get it. There's actual excitement and energy around this Knicks team because, you know, the Knicks have been terrible for a long time. Jalen Brunson's arrival kind of changed that. I think it's still a bit misplaced. Like, I think they're a nice story, but I don't think they're a lot more than that. I don't think they're championship caliber. I don't even think they would be championship caliber if Randall hadn't gotten hurt. But I get it. There's excitement because the Knicks have been down bad for a long time. We know a thing or two about this in Baltimore. Everybody wanted to say Baltimore. There's always Yankees fans in Baltimore. Well, yeah, you know, have this be your team. And we saw Knicks fans in some of the worst moments of the James Dolan era. And I'm not saying the building wasn't full because it's still the biggest market in the country. But there was a lot of apathy. Now there's excitement. Understandable. Good product. Team that's inspiring. Makes sense. New York isn't far from Philadelphia, much like New York isn't that far from Baltimore. And so for years, Yankees fans came down to Baltimore. Now all of a sudden, the Orioles are good, and everybody in the national media is like, hey, that's cool. I look at Camden Yards, and it's not a bunch of Yankees fans this week. It is.
Yeah,
I appreciate
cool.
that. But it's what happens when there's excitement surrounding a team instead of apathy. When the Knicks were sneaking in as the 8th seed in the East because you could win like 29 games and get into the playoffs, they weren't going to be taking over.
Still can now, yeah.
Yeah, you can. That's a fact. Like they weren't going to be sending thousands of fans on the road to Philadelphia to play playoff games because there wasn't that excitement. The team's good. We try to make this more than it is. It's not some statement about a fan base. It's that the team that's more exciting or that's newly more exciting, there's always going to be more of a push and more fans that want to pay more money and follow that around. Meanwhile, on the side of Philadelphia, frankly, it's been disappointing. They're starting to realize, like, hey, the Emperor might have had no clothes. The thing that we believed in for a long time has not produced even a single conference finals appearance. Joel Embiid's cool. He's a great player. You know, worthy of MVP consideration. But there's nothing to be excited about. We don't believe this team can win a title. So I understand how this happens. It's human nature for something like this to happen. It's not, oh, dude, you're a weak fan base. You guys suck. Like, that's the frat boy nonsense that you say when you're 14 and you're an idiot. I mean, it's lame. The reality is it's totally understandable. It would not be understandable, say, if like the Minnesota Timberwolves, who were really good and maybe the most exciting team in basketball, had thousands of Denver Nuggets fans take over their arena. You'd be like, yeah, that don't make a lot of sense. I don't get that. But that's not what's happening. It's a fan base that feels like their window is closing or has closed versus a fan base that feels like their window is opening. And so it makes sense. And Philly basketball fans have been plenty supportive of that. My God, they literally invented tanking. They were the first franchise to that city embraced the suck. To try to pretend now like, they're pathetic, they're weak, that's a suck fan base. Dude, it's so sad. But we say those things and it gets attention. It's not real. It's not real even a little bit. So I got no beef with it. I think it's a kind of a clever way for them to go about like addressing it with, hey, we get it. We understand. We still want to try to prove everybody wrong, and we want you guys to get on board. And so we're going to try to do something small to make it a little bit less embarrassing. And, hey, if we win this game and maybe go win Game 7, how about you guys get back on board? You'll be in the conference semifinals all of a sudden. Heck, if they're playing Indiana or a Milwaukee team that still doesn't have Giannis or Dame, they're going to feel pretty good about their chances of winning that series. Not a guarantee. Indiana could totally beat them, but I think it's a gesture that works from their ownership group to say, hey, we get it. And it would be easy for them to say, let's in fact, this is how criminal the ticketing industry is. They could kind of artificially inflate the prices of those tickets to sell them to the appetite of the New York market. And that's how criminal the ticketing industry is.
Like how Carolina is blocking out. Like if you have a zip code not in Carolina or
well,
something, they could add a tax.
They absolutely have a secondary market ticketing partner. Whether that's, I don't know enough about this, whether it's just Ticketmaster as well or some, they have a secondary market ticketing partner. And they could essentially say to their partner, go ahead and sell those tickets to Knicks fans. Bump them up. Bump them up. We know the Knicks fans will pay it. They want to come down here. So let's make a couple extra, thousands upon $1,000. Let's really make our nut selling tickets to Knicks fans. Respect the fact that group is saying, we don't want that. I'm not going to try to tug on the heartstrings of, look how generous they are. They're giving it to first responders. I mean, it's a nice thing. It's not a bad thing at all, but I'm not, I think the idea is we don't want to embarrass the fan base anymore, and we are trying to meet you in the middle and say we understand. We understand your frustration. We understand why you're not as gung-ho at the moment. Maybe if we extend an olive branch, we ask that if it happens to work out, let's say Tyrese Maxey goes off for 2 more games, scores 50 points in each, and somehow we pull out this series, would you get back on board with us in the next round? Would you buy into, hey, there's still something happening here? And I think that we should all, as sports fans, want that from the people that lead the teams. And understand it's not just your ability to make profit, but it's a civic partnership. Hear us, see us, understand how we're feeling. Meet us in the middle where you have the opportunity to. I don't know that it's going to change anything. I think there's still going to be a lot of frustrated 76ers fans whenever the season ends. And they're not going to know what to make of the entirety of, I keep coming back to how crazy it is. They've never made a conference final in the process era. Like, that is nuts. That's bonkers.
Process era.
But, I mean, that's what else would you call it? The Embiid era, whatever you want to call it. Like, Joel Embiid has proven to be the process. That's what you got from the process. And it's been fun.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, he's been a hell of a player.
Just have not.
But what do they have to show for it? Nothing. A fun Game 7 that they could have won against Toronto, but didn't? Is that the best that there's been? It feels like it. They might have been able to win the title that year, but they lost. Kawhi Leonard did them in. And that was the end of that. Tonight the NBA playoffs continue. As I mentioned, the early game, the Pacers will try again to close out the Bucks. And after there was some thought following Game 5 that Giannis and or Dame could return, it looks like both of them will be out again. Griffin prays that's the case because Griffin still has a bet riding on that. And then Game 6 tonight between the Knicks and Sixers in Philadelphia, slated for 9 o'clock. All right, when we come back in, we're going to chat with Jake Mintz from Yahoo Sports, get his thoughts on some of the bigger picture stuff we've been talking about with the Baltimore Orioles, and we'll get into fighting words. Can we? Do you want to do fighting words now, actually?
Yeah, we can do it now.
Let's do that now. I'm going to take it back. We won't take a break here. We'll go ahead and do this. Just for a break structure, this kind of makes a little bit more sense. Fighting Words brought to you this week by Sports and Social, where you can go to watch UFC 301 on Saturday night. The best place to watch all of the big events. Sports and Social inside Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. The giant media wall. The great food and drink specials. Just steps away from the FanDuel Sportsbook. You want to reserve a table for Saturday night? You can do that right there on their website. You want to reserve one or more of those blue reclining chairs, which are really comfortable. I actually would be very worried about watching events there because I would fall asleep. It's like going to a movie theater anymore. I could be turbo excited about a movie. I sit down in these reclining chairs and I put my legs up, and all of a sudden, it could be the most excited I've ever been to see a movie. It still happens, man. It's just the way that it goes. But if you want to sit comfortably in those blue reclining chairs, just stop by the FanDuel Sportsbook inside Live Casino and Hotel, and they will get you reserved for UFC 301 on Saturday nights. Go ahead and tell us about it.
Well, I was going to start because Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney are determined to stay the top story in the fight world, despite fighting still 2 weeks ago.
I don't know what to make of this.
I don't know what to make of it either. I mean, Haney, Garcia immediately came out and said it was fake news and said it was false. And I guess it's possible he did take a PED without knowing. I mean, Haiti.
Yeah, if you don't know, Ryan Garcia, who beat Devin Haney last week in what was a shocking upset, has tested positive for
PED. It was something
Osterine, which is a performance-enhancing substance. From a urine sample before the fight.
And it takes, I mean, so Haney's calling him a cheater, and like he's definitely getting on his high horse, saying people die for this sport, like it's he doesn't take this serious. So and then obviously Tank is all over it as well, and kind of defending Ryan Garcia, and calling it a conspiracy that Haney's people are creating. And it's probably the best way that Tank can play this because he's trying to make his win over Ryan Garcia look better, and then it's clearly going to set up. It seems more than likely that he's trying to set up something with Devin Haney coming up in the near future.
It's really bizarre, man. Like it's just, and it's awful for boxing, obviously. Like as weird as the result was, it was a result, and you kind of worked from there, and you had to give credit to Ryan Garcia, and you kind of had an answer about Devin Haney. Like it was at least a result. This is bad, man. Everything about this is bad. I know they'll probably test the B sample and see if that confirms or if somehow it's a false positive on the A sample. It's really bad for boxing. I mean, it's just unbelievably bad for boxing. Ryan Garcia, maybe he's telling the truth.
Maybe and it's weird because why should we believe anything Ryan Garcia says? He came in 3 pounds overweight.
Right.
Like he was not taking the fight, or at least
it didn't seem like that he was taking the fight
seriously. So it's bad. It's such a bad.
It's really bad.
It's a really tough look, and they're continuing to continuing to drive the storylines in boxing, as well as Canelo is fighting this weekend as well, so you can catch that as well. UFC 301.
I don't even know who the guy is.
Jaime Munguia.
Munguia.
Munguia,
Sure.
yes.
Is that actually how I pronounce his name,
yes,
or are you
it
just
is.
guessing that?
It is
Okay.
Munguia.
Right.
I did make sure I did my research on him.
I don't know anything about him. Nothing.
He's a massive underdog. Canelo is -600 in this one. Like, it should be another, Canelo Alvarez showcase on Cinco de Mayo weekend. However, this pay-per-view, it's on DAZN. It's also Prime Video, apparently, is doing a pay-per-view, so you can buy it through Prime Video.
I think that's how you have to buy it in this
it is how
country.
you
I think
buy it?
it's only
Oh,
on
okay.
DAZN and internationally.
Oh,
I
gotcha.
think you have to buy it through your Amazon.
If you have
Prime.
$90 and you really want to watch Canelo beat this guy, you can go ahead and spend the $90, or head out to Sports and Social, of course. But yeah, Canelo to get a knockout is +175. I don't think there's any way to really make money on this fight, unfortunately, unless maybe I'll give you some picks. Some of my picks on UFC 301 that I like, because there's a lot of heavy favorites. Maybe you can throw Canelo in there at -600 if you'd like. But it is Alexandre Pantoja versus Steve Erceg for the flyweight title in the main event. It's kind of a weak card. What's still makes it very compelling, I think, is the fact that it's in Brazil. So they're in Rio, and the Brazilian MMA fans always put on, and it makes the event seem massive no matter who's fighting there. So because they have fight nights there, they've had fight nights there, and it still seems they go crazy. But it's it's
an underwhelming card.
It's an underwhelming card, and when 4 weeks ago we had
a loaded
Alex
card,
right. UFC 300, so it's a little bit of that. You had that card absolutely stacked, and you had Alex Pereira. After knocking out Jamal Hill in 2 minutes, he was like, he called out Tom Aspinall and was like, "Hey, I'd fight him in Brazil," and it seems like
you can't do that.
You
can't
probably
do that.
can't. You probably can't. But
you're making a mockery of your sport when you do that. You really are. Like, that's sorry. Go ahead.
But there just isn't. I was gonna say there's not a ton of Brazilian stars right now, but that's not true. It's just the fact that Alex Pereira is not on this card. Charles Oliveira, who fought at 300, he's not on this card. Amanda Nunes, who is soon retired. It's kind of it seems very possible that she could come out of retirement. She's not on this card. Jose Aldo is fighting.
I
he's
saw that.
the co-main event, but he's 37 years. I think he's 37 years old now. So it's the sports books are giving him a good bit of respect. I think he's +125. He's fighting Jonathan Martinez. It's a tough matchup for Jose Aldo, just because he is old. He hasn't fought in 2 years, and that we assumed was his retirement fight against Merab Dvalishvili. I guess it was maybe like 20 months ago now. So almost 2 years. So he's coming out of pseudo retirement. The thing I will say, I think you can go ahead. So what is fun about it is when they do these kind of international big fight cards. They definitely try to load it with natives of the country. And since Brazil is such a big MMA country, they have a Brazilian fighter in every single fight going up against a non-Brazilian fighter. So I think it will definitely make for a rabid crowd. And I think you can. I think you can go ahead and blindly bet the Brazilians as well. There is a little bit. For some more than others, a very distinct kind of home field advantage for Brazilian fighters. I think they're favorited in like 12 of the 15 or 11 of the 14 fights.
Okay.
So some of them bigger favorites than others. But
you want to parlay all of them?
You could probably round robin them, honestly. And if you do like a 10-way round robin, I think you'd definitely make some money. Elvis Brenner is a Brazilian underdog, one of the 3 underdogs. Jose Aldo, Elvis Brenner, and I forget who the other one was. But Elvis Brenner, I like. He's +200. I think he's got a very legitimate chance to win. So Elvis Brenner is one of the ones that I like. And one of the parlay that I do like, because I'm just gonna go ahead and take some of the biggest. They're big favorites, but they're very, very good. There's a reason that they are these big favorites. So Ismail Bonfim is -500. I do like him a lot, and if you parlay him with, you can parlay him with Caio Bahalho. Very good. He's fighting Paul Craig. I like Paul Craig a lot, but Paul Craig is he just doesn't have it, unfortunately. He was a 205er. He moved down to 185. It hasn't really working out for him either. He's kind of like so Tim Means was my big flyer that I gave out last week. He got knocked out in the first round. He's kind of similar to Tim Means, where it's like he's older. If it goes to the ground, it might be a little bit of trouble. But even then, it's still he's still getting older and just isn't as skillful. So Caio Bahalho over Paul Craig is like -600. Michel Pereira is one of my favorites as well. Anthony Smith is also fighting on this card. He is also he's probably about one. This could very likely be a retirement fight for him as well. And he's a big underdog. So Vitor Petrino, the Brazilian, is favored over him. If you parlay those four together, it is -120. So I do like that a lot. I like that one a lot as well. Some others that you can make some money on.
Quickly.
All right. Mauricio Ruffy, he's -200. So if you parlay Ruffy and the opener Alessandro Costa, -140, you get. Sorry, +150. I like those two a lot. They're Brazilians, but yeah, I mean, like I don't think you can really go wrong. Betting on the Brazilians on this card as again Pantoja Erceg. It's a very good fight. So Erceg, he really came out of nowhere. Like this is only his 4th UFC fight, and it's just kind of a testament to the lack of depth, I guess, at flyweight right now, and the fact that Pantoja has like beaten all the other contenders like twice. Like he's beaten Brandon Royval twice, he's beaten Brandon Moreno twice, and the reason it kind of took him a little bit of time to get his first title shot is just because of the Moreno Figueiredo quadruple header that we had. Like they took up the title fights for about like 3.5 years there. So Pantoja's very good. I really don't see any way that Erceg wins, especially, going into Rio. So I like Pantoja a lot as well in the main event, and I think he's just so well-rounded. He can get it done, any way he wants, whether it goes to the ground. He's got significant power. I think Steve Erceg's pretty good. It's just because I feel like there's still just so much we don't know about him. I feel like he hasn't really faced a real tough test yet, so that's why it's hard for me to. It's really hard for me or really anyone to like kind of pick him in a 5-round fight now in Brazil for what's seems like his first legitimate test, honestly.
Okay.
So I like Pantoja a lot. -190 in the main event.
Very good.
Yes.
Very good. You can get your bets in for that. All right, that's Fighting Words. Again, UFC 301 on Saturday night. You can watch it at Sports and Social. And as Griffin pointed out, I assume they are, showing the Canelo fight as well. So it'll be a busy night, probably a crazy atmosphere.
By the way, it is for Jake Paul, Mike Tyson, officially a sanctioned bout.
I saw that. Sure.
Yeah, what do you say to that?
Nothing. Literally nothing. And never will. Sanctioned. I'm sorry, was that it? Okay. That's what I had there. That's what I had. Hey, if you haven't picked up the new print issue of Pressbox yet, go get it at your neighborhood Royal Farms and at the hundreds of locations around town where you find Pressbox. Great cover story from our guy, Luke Jackson. You heard Jim Palmer talking about it on the broadcast the other night, all about Grayson Rodriguez. That is available for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms and at the hundreds of locations around town where you find Pressbox. You can read it all at PressBoxOnline.com, the new print issue of Pressbox, which is available now. And not just a great cover story about Grayson Rodriguez, but also inside really, really nice feature about the late, great Lefty Drizel, including some thoughts from some of the folks in the ACC who went up against him, including Roy Williams and Bobby Cremins and giants in college basketball, about the legacy of the late, great Lefty Drizel. So go get that print issue today. Yeah, the Orioles lineup is out for today, and it probably will not inspire you, if I had to guess. It's what it is. They were going to get righties in the lineup today. That was the way it was going to go. Gunnar, Adley, Ryan Mountcastle, Santander, Westberg, then Mateo at second, Colton Cowser in left. Was about to make him Brian McCann again. James McCann behind the plate and Ryan McKenna in center field. So, yeah, Mateo, McKenna, all in the lineup today, and I certainly understand why Orioles fans might not be terribly excited about it. All right, I guess we'll grab a break. When we come back in, scheduled to be joined by Jake Mintz from Yahoo Sports. That's next. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
New York deli experience? Look no further than the new Atman's Deli in Baltimore's Harbor Point. Corned beef piled high, hand-rolled bagels, and something different. A bar! Atman's has food and drink specials every day. Now open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Dine in, grab takeout, or hang out at the bar for the next O's game. Atman's Deli, an authentic taste of Baltimore tradition since 1915. Find us at Harbor Point or visit atmansdeli.com.
What company makes your home more energy efficient, purifies your air, kills all viruses, and qualifies you for $6,000 in rebates? A.J. Michaels Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis at ajmichaels.com.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Discover one of Baltimore's hidden gems at Guilford Hall Brewery. Enjoy dinner in our spacious brew pub, sip a signature cocktail in our outdoor, dog-friendly beer garden, or take a tour of our brewery. Discover your new favorite local craft beer. From crisp lagers to hoppy ales, there's something for everyone to enjoy. Pair your brew with delicious appetizers and entrees. There are options for the whole family, but you have to try our fan-favorite giant pretzel. Guilford Hall Brewery, where every sip is a celebration. Visit us online at guilfordhall.com.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Luke Jackson profiles Grayson Rodriguez, talking to people who have been part of his path as the Orioles hope he'll become their next homegrown ace. Also inside, we remember legendary Maryland basketball coach Lefty Drizel with stories from legends like Roy Williams and Bobby Cremins about what it was like to go up against the old left-hander. Press Box is available at over 500 locations around Baltimore, including 60 Royal Farm stores. You can also find the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
The Ed Block Courage Award Foundation has been working in partnership with the NFL for 46 years to support abused, neglected, and at-risk youth across the country, partnering each team with a children's facility or program that supports the well-being of those in need. Annually, one player from each team is selected by their peers to receive the Courage Award for their inspiration on and off the field. Learn more about how the Ed Block Courage Award Foundation makes a difference, and be sure to check out their latest podcast and web series episodes at edblock.org.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, Game 4 of the 4-game series between the Orioles and Yankees coming up today. Always fun to catch up with our next guest. We know he's an Orioles fan. You know him as part of Cespedes Family Barbecue, and, of course, Yahoo Sports is where you find them these days. Here's our buddy Jake Mintz, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Jake, it's Glenn. It's good to chat as always, man. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Of course, a pleasure and a privilege. It feels like the O's have been playing the Yankees for about a month at this point, right?
It does. It'd be nice if they scored some runs. That part would be nice, scoring a few runs. It felt like the reverse lock of the century yesterday. We kept saying it. Like, on paper, man, this is the easy one. They got Heel on the mound against Burns. No way. I don't know what it is about baseball, dude. It's just the way that it always tends to work out. When you're in that spot, you never win that game. I don't know how to explain it.
The second you think you know something, just remember you don't know jack. Yeah, I mean, Burns, every time he's on the mound, he gives the Orioles a chance to win. But, like, last night's game was such a phenomenal example and a phenomenal reminder that, like, baseball is dumb. Like, some days you just don't get hits.
Yeah.
And it's really not, like, there's no reason to panic or be concerned. Offenses go up and offenses go down, and it's really what you're able to do over the long haul of the season.
Let me run a few big picture things by you, right? Like,
yeah.
I feel like there has been consternation. He was in the lineup last night, got a hit, but they bring up Heston Kjerstad, and we knew in that moment they had one too many left-handed hitters that don't really have a position, like that they weren't going to be able to get him in the lineup every day because none of them play third base. should they have been prioritizing Kerstad among that group and saying, hey, if he's going to be here, we've got to get him at bats? Or, again, is it like, hey, we're trying to win, and Santander, these dudes are all producing. We can't be sitting them down right now. That's just the way that it goes.
I think it's the latter.
Yeah.
That thing you said. You're right. If Kerstad just knew how to play third base, this would be a whole lot simple. But he obviously doesn't, and you cannot take Ryan O'Hearn's bat out of the lineup, which is an outrageous thing. That is true, based upon where this guy was 2 years ago. 100%. But he is one of the best left-handed bats against right-handed pitching in baseball. His at-bats have been phenomenal, and you can't take the guy out. And so the issue, this is really the first time that the Orioles have had too many cooks in the kitchen, and it is a good problem to have. The issue, right, is does Kerstad's stock fall if he's not getting regular at-bats? The other issue that the Orioles have is they really, in my opinion, being around the team, is I don't think they feel too confident about him being in the outfield right now.
Right.
I think they probably believe he needs just some more work and some more seasoning out there to feel comfortable putting him in a corner. Now, he is going to play there, but I would imagine that him going through some of that development at the big league level and reading big league balls off the bat is an important part of it. And so I think that it's tough, right? Because development needs to also happen at the big league level. You can do whatever you want in AAA, but unless you teach the guy how to do it in the big leagues, it's not going to make a difference. And I think having Kerstad up is probably the right move. However, just think about this conversation compared to conversations about the Orioles 4 years ago. Oh, man, what are we going to do with
Pat Valaika, Dwight Smith, right? Oh, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
It pales in comparison. I'll go to the other side of it, which is obviously there's been a lot made about the handling of Jackson Holliday overall. I thought he needed to be here to start the season, but it was unique to PPI. So the fact that they got him here within 2 weeks, I was fine with that. To me, it was all about if he's this good, why potentially cost yourself a top 35 draft pick by not having him here to start the year? They took care of that. They checked the box. I also, Jake, don't really have an issue with wins and losses matter. I got no beef with if someone's not producing, we can't say, hey, it'd be best for Jackson Holliday for him to work it out at the major league level. I hear that, but what's best for the Orioles, that's what they need to be doing. Are you okay with how they've handled this with Jackson Holliday?
90%.
Okay.
85 to 90%. I would have just put him on the opening day roster.
Sure.
Because I think that sending him to AAA for a week and a half and then bringing him up didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. If he was ready in a week and a half, why wasn't he ready beforehand? There's no way that move actually moved the needle. However, I think having him up so early is fine, right? I think sending him down is fine. He looked lost. He looked overwhelmed. The Orioles have had top prospects over the last few years be overly passive upon debuting in the big leagues and having that hurt their plate appearances. We saw that with Colton Cowser. We definitely saw that at the beginning of last season with Gunnar Henderson. Adley Rutschman had something similar. Unfortunately, that's not what was happening with Holliday. He was simply swinging through pitches in the strike zone. And it got to a point where keeping him in the big leagues, it was clear that he wasn't going to be able to work through that there. And sending him down to iron that out, I think, was the right call. Should people be concerned? No, not really. The Orioles have kind of spun this in a way where we brought him up. He struggles. Now he knows what he needs to go work on. I think that that's definitely true, but I feel pretty confident in saying I don't think Jackson Holliday anticipated that he was ever going to return to AAA. And I am very curious to see how he handles that. I have confidence that he will handle it well. Everything he has accomplished up to this point in his career has been sensational and historic, right? He's been kind of crafted in this cauldron of being the son of a big leaguer.
Right.
And so I think he's going to go down there and be fine. But it is the first time really in his baseball life that he's ever faced failure.
Yep.
So that's always an important moment for any young player.
The flip side, the issue that I had is Ryan McKenna. And it's specifically Ryan McKenna because Connor Norby exists. And I know defense matters. And by the way, they keep trying to sell me on Ryan McKenna. And every moment that they need him to make a defensive play, it doesn't happen. But they needed someone that could play a position that was available and be a right-handed bat. Connor Norby seems like he's that guy, and yet they're not giving Connor Norby that opportunity to be that guy. What do you make of that?
Yeah, again, it's hard. Like I always defer to the organization who has more information on all of these players than we do, right? And the Orioles have enough of a track record now that I'm gonna cede to them. At the same time, you're right that Ryan McKenna is not. We've reached a point with him where we know what that player is, right? Yeah. He's not moving the needle from an offensive standpoint. And when you have Jorge Mateo, who is giving you something similar off the bench, it's kind of hard, not hard to justify, but there is a little bit of redundancy there. At the same time, if they think Norby needs more seasoning, they think Norby needs more seasoning. And maybe it's a situation, right? We talked about it with Kerstead. Maybe Norby, they want to make sure he's getting everyday at-bats, right? They want to make sure that that's the case. And they think he needs that. And if that's true, that's true. You know, I think we're like another 2 months away from any of this being, you know, a problem.
Like comical, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that that's still a little on the horizon. The season is only a month old, right? And as far as I'm concerned, everything has gone on the offensive side about as well as you could ask for. They are going to have, you know, a situation where they need to make sure the bananas don't turn brown, right? If the idea is you have the Stocks farm system, there's value in that, and you can trade that for current big league talent. Like, if you wait long enough, you can't trade those guys anymore. So I still think we're not there, but it is out there on the horizon somewhere.
Jake Mintz, Cespedes Family Barbecue, Yahoo Sports. He's with us here on GCR. Jake, to the pitching side of things, I think a lot of us in Baltimore think that this might be conveniently timed with Grayson Rodriguez going to the injured list. And truth be told, if that's the case, I'm not really opposed to it. Like, I think at some point to try to make sure that Grayson Rodriguez is available to you through potentially the end of October, you were going to have to skip some starts or have an IL stint. And the timing of it being at a place where Dean Kramer and Cole Irvin are both pitching well and you don't really want to kick one of them out of the rotation right now, I don't really have any issue. Maybe it's all completely true and he really did have – I don't know. But if it's not, if there's convenience to it, I'm not opposed to that either because I think you're going to have to do that at some point, and why not do it when you've got a lot of other good options at the moment?
I agree with you. However, the one area of concern I have, and I can't speak to the specifics of this, is that needs to be communicated properly to Rodriguez himself. Because any starting pitcher wants to go out there and pitch every single time out.
Yep.
They want the ball. They don't want to, if they are healthy enough, to take starts off. And now, again, like you said, we don't know, right? I think it is fair to ask the question, is he really injured? Does he really need time? Shoulder inflammation is a hilarious thing. Like every pitcher always has shoulder inflammation, right? Like I haven't thrown a pitch in 8 years, and I probably have shoulder inflammation.
I don't know, man. I've been throwing batting practice to my 9-year-old and 6-year-old. I absolutely have shoulder inflammation.
It's inflamed, dude. But yeah, so where I'm at is, as a strategy, it's fine. It's just the type of thing where you need to make sure that it's being communicated responsibly to the player so they don't get frustrated. And I assume the Orioles are doing a fine enough job with that, but it is just something to keep in mind.
No, I completely understand. I just think that you're looking at a guy that still only pitched 161 innings a year ago. And like that's there's something real about that. Like you can't pretend like you can just I feel like that if that's part of the plan, it's part of the plan. I get your point, and if for some reason that was never talked about, like that was one of the theories that I had, is that they had worked in concert with Grayson Rodriguez this season to say, hey, at some point we're going to have to do something. And if they didn't do it, then I'm with you. It becomes a problem at that point. The bullpen, how concerned would you say? You know, a lot of people in baseball say, dude, everybody's concerned about their bullpen. That's the way that it goes. Clearly, you're coming off the worst weekend for Craig Kimbrell. If you can get him back and he's healthy, he had been pitching well before that. But how concerned are you about the bullpen in the context of this team trying to win a World Series?
Yeah, so there's the regular season bullpen and there's the playoff bullpen. And those are kind of two different things. And I think Craig Kimbrell as a regular season reliever is totally fine. However, I don't believe, as someone who watched the Philadelphia Phillies in the playoffs last year, I don't believe that Craig Kimbrell at this stage of his career, even though he's accomplished so much, is a 1 or a 2 or even a third option out of the bullpen in October with what he is at this point. And that's okay, right? If you want to have him suck up some innings when you have a bigger lead and you want to use him in the regular season in games that are less intense, that's fine. I just struggle to feel, unless something changes, I don't feel trust there. Now, what that means is the Orioles, I believe, need to go out and add somebody to the bullpen during the trade deadline to make sure that come October, there are enough horses in the stable, right? Because when you're talking about arms you trust, somehow Danny Coulomb is like at the top of that list. Yennier Cano, obviously, right?
Yep.
And CNL looked much better coming off the IL this week.
And you assume that that'll be Tyler Wells in a couple of weeks too, right? Yeah.
Look, and Albert Suarez, they're probably going to move him to the bullpen, and that stuff's going to play up. But it's so funny too because the two relievers who I think are going to be on the market come deadline time are Hunter Harvey, former Oriole, and Tanner Scott, former Oriole. And so,
I mean,
those are two guys.
They both have very
really
live electric arms. I'm not opposed to.
And they've both been good. Yeah, I need a little more. And I think that's kind of what the plan was. There's more than enough in the system, right, to go get what they need. That's not the problem. But I think the team wanted to make sure 1,000% that they were going to be in contention before they went out and added an additional piece. You want to give your guys the chance in the early part of the season to prove that they can be in the pen, and that allows certain breakouts to happen, right? If they had stocked the pen last year before the season, then we wouldn't have known about Yennier Cano or Danny Coulomb or any of these guys, right? So I see it as an issue, but it's not. They have an opportunity to remedy it. So
I get that. I do think, to your point, that Suarez, Wells will help that a little bit. As long as you keep the rest of your starters healthy, and that's a big if. The name that you didn't mention among the guys that could be available, are you buying that the Athletics could stay relevant enough that Mason Miller isn't on the market in July?
So my issue there is that he just has a lot of service time left.
So the cost would be, ungodly.
Yeah. They would have to give up Basalo or something to go get him. I just think that for a reliever like that who's throwing so hard right now, there's always going to be concern about, okay, what happens if the fastball velocity tails off? And so the way the Orioles have operated, they're not going to overpay for something. Mike Elias is not going to do that. And while it is fun to watch Mason Miller obliterate the Orioles lineup and think about what he would be in, orange and black, I don't right now see that as a realistic option.
I get that. And I feel like that was kind of the conversation we were having about Clase in the offseason. We're like, yeah, dude, it makes all the sense, but that contract is so unbelievably favorable that you're not getting it at the price that you want to pay for a reliever. Like, you've got to pay something truly game-changing. And to your point, I don't know that the Orioles want to do that for a bullpen arm.
Yep, exactly. Completely agree.
So this is where we are. This is where it is. Boy, this is so much. As you pointed out at the beginning, it's so much more fun to be talking about this. It is so much more fun to be having these conversations. All right, what can I plug for you, Jake Mintz?
I am gonna watch a lot of baseball games. I mean, that's kind of just what I do.
Tough life.
Tough life. Yeah, my better half, Jordan Schusterman, who lives out in Indiana, will actually be the Orioles games this weekend against the Reds. So I'm excited to hear about that. And living up in New York and going to Yankee Stadium and Citi Field all the time, but driving down to Baltimore whenever I can.
And it's been good to have you down here a few times. At Jake_Mintz, Cespedes Family Barbecue, at Cespedes BBQ, and Yahoo Sports, where you find them. Jake Mintz, always appreciate you, man. Thanks for spending a few minutes with us this morning, as always.
Got it. You take it easy. See ya.
Jake Mintz with us here on GCR. We come back in. Exciting weekend coming up in Harford County. National championship to be determined in Harford County. And we're going to let the folks from Harford Community College tell us all about it next here on GCR.
Harford Community College will host the National Junior College Athletic Association's 2024 Men's Lacrosse National Championship and Women's Lacrosse Invitational on May 11th and 12th at Harford Sports Complex, 401 Thomas Run Road in Bel Air, Maryland. The semifinals on May 11th include the Women's Invitational, with the Women's North A representative playing the Mid-Atlantic B representative at 10 a.m., and the Women's North B representative facing off against the Mid-Atlantic A representative at 12:30 p.m. For the men's championship, the number 1 seed will play the lowest remaining seed in the quarterfinal round at 3:30 p.m. The men's number 2 seed will face off against the highest remaining seed at 6 p.m. May 12th is reserved for the national championship games at noon for the women and 4 p.m. for the men. Tickets are $20 each day at HartfordEvents.com or at the gate if available.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
There is a place where tradition, family, and community gather, where the aspirations of talented young competitors takes root, and where the crossroads of history, culture, and renewal come together. This spring, experience America's newest and most innovative ballpark, Meritus Park in Hagerstown, Maryland, home of the Atlantic League Flying Boxcars. Plan your getaway today. You're welcome in Hagerstown, Maryland. Visit Hagerstown.com.
Hungry? With 7 locations throughout Maryland, Glory Days Grill is always right around the corner. They have wings, burgers, salads, sandwiches, and drinks to satisfy everyone, as well as tons of televisions and sound delivered right to your phone. Glory Days is the best place to watch football or whatever your favorite sport is. While you're there, be sure to check out Goose Flights Lager, named in honor of legendary Raven Tony Goose Siragusa. $2 of every can is donated to the Goose Flights Foundation. Glory Days Grill. Great food, good sports.
Oh, honey, we better stop for gas soon. Let's pull into that Royal Farms.
Ugh, gas is so expensive.
Nope, it'll be cheaper than you think.
Why's that?
I signed up for ROFO Pay on the Royal Farms app. Now we save 15 cents per gallon at all Royal Farms.
Wow, that'll save us a ton of money. I love you more every day.
Well, then don't get a speeding ticket this trip, okay?
Sign up for ROFO Rewards and upgrade to ROFO Pay and save 15 cents a gallon on gas for a limited time. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis. AJMichaels.com.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
All right, back in here on GCR. Well, coming up next weekend, a big weekend up in Bel Air, as Hartford Community College has settled in as like the host for a few years, in fact, moving forward, of the NGCAA Lacrosse Championships on the men's side, and the Women's Invitational now will be part of it this year. And we got a crew from Hartford Community College that's joined us here in studio. I'm going to start with men's lacrosse head coach Aaron Verardi, who's back with us in studio. It's great to see you, Coach.
Great to see you.
Everything good? Everything other than the result last week? Everything good?
Yes.
The heck happened there?
Hey, you got to show up and compete, so we're just moving forward.
Hey, man, that's the way it goes.
Yep.
So, all right, let me go back a ways, because you and I chatted last year, and maybe you realized it was good luck. So, like, you had to come back in here and do this again this year.
Yep.
What it meant to have this opportunity, to be the host, and then obviously you guys making the most out of it. What did it do for Hartford Community College? What did it do for the community in Hartford County? And how important is it that you guys continue to be the hosts and prove, like, hey, we're kind of the center of the lacrosse world?
Yeah, and, well, I mean, like you just said, that's kind of, I think, our intention with it. And, to have the opportunity to host it last year, then get the bid for the next, few years, it's going to bring a lot of people into Harford County. It's going to bring a lot of people onto our campus, checking out our awesome facilities, just seeing, kind of what's been going on at Harford for a while, and how it's growing. And, also to know that, if they want to watch some good lacrosse, on any May 11th, in this case, May 11th and 12th weekend, or, Mother's Day weekend is usually when it is, they can come to Harford and watch some great lacrosse. So, and then for us, to be able to, obviously it's our home field, so we're always a little extra motivated to be in it and compete for it and win it. So.
It was a very special weekend, I know, for everybody a year ago, and trying to make that happen again this year. And I'll bring in now Caleb Hare, who is a part of your team and played at Curly and was part of the championship team a year ago. Caleb, can you tell me what that experience was like for you to host the championship and be a national champion right here at home in front of your friends and family? If you could pull that microphone up a little bit closer.
That moment was truly special. Especially going through that whole year and you're grinding and you're building every day. You're building on top of what you're doing. And in the end, like I said, that day was truly special, especially with that. It was such a great group of guys. We were together for that whole year, just battling every day. And to get over that hump finally, I mean, it was the first time in school history that we had won a national championship. So to get over that hump finally.
You picked a heck of a time to do it, by
I know.
the way, right?
I know,
like, if you're going to pick a year, it was a pretty good year to go ahead and do it.
It was a pretty good year to do it. And I was just happy for my teammates and my coaches. We'd worked really hard for that, and I felt like it was time for us to finally
Especially,
win.
you being someone who's from here, right?
Yes.
I imagine you were able to have a lot of friends and family that were able to be there to see that. What is that feeling like to have those hugs and that scene after a weekend like that?
I can't even explain it. I remember that final whistle blowing, and I just sprinted straight across the field, and I hugged my mom and my dad first. I mean, they've been with me through my whole experience, and it was just great because, like you said, I don't even know how many aunts and uncles and cousins and people that I didn't even think would show up for me in that day. It was truly special, and it was truly amazing.
That's really, really cool. So now you got to go do it again, Coach, right? Like, now,
absolutely,
that's the way it goes. This has got to be a regular thing now, hosting and winning national championships.
Yeah, that's what we want to do.
Just because the difficulty now of having the target on your back this season, how has your team handled that as you build towards championship weekend?
Yeah, we kind of, we talk about a lot of that, throughout the year. And, for us, it's being a junior college team, you kind of hit the reset button every year. You have guys like Caleb that are returning from the year before that kind of bring a little bit of, what they learned and the things that they took away from last year, into the next year. And that's how we've built up a culture. And then our new guys, kind of fitting into that and learning the ways of being successful. So, we know that we're going to be, every team's championship game. Essentially, that's kind of what we've worded it as, and so that means for us, every game is our championship game too. So, you never want to be the hunted; you always want to be the hunter, and that's kind of the way we're looking at it. This past weekend was a good kind of reminder of that for us, and I think it's kind of geared our focus and gotten us back into that mindset of being hungry.
All right, this is not – so next weekend is what we're talking about, and it's the national championship weekend on the men's side. But I'm going to welcome in Jess Stout now, and Jess is a Harford County native. Jess went to C. Milton and now plays the women's team at Harford. And what's really cool this year, now added to the weekend festivities, is the Women's Invitational. Jess, it's great to see you. Thanks for coming in and hanging out. I'm going to ask you the same thing if you pull the microphone up a little bit closer to you. For this event to be right here in your literal hometown, what does that mean to you that, like, now Bel Air is also kind of be a little bit of the center of the women's lacrosse world?
I'm really looking forward to it. It's really such a good opportunity, and like Caleb said, he had all the family there. I'm really excited to have my family and friends there, be able to see me play, and even if we don't make it, we'll still be able to go
Be a
out
part of it.
and watch and support the other teams. So either way, we're involved, and I'm really thankful for that
A
opportunity.
pride in hosting that and
Yeah.
saying, like, this is where
this is our field.
That's a
so
really
we're going to be there no matter what.
That's a really cool thing, and I think it's an incredible attitude to have, and to say, hey, that's where we want to be. We want to be the teams that are winning this event and winning a championship. Jess, why was it Hartford for you? Like, why did you want to, after you played in high school, why did you want to do that next?
So I came to Hartford and because it was close to home, and they ended up needing girls for the team. So I figured I'd play, and I could not be more thankful. I really love it there. It pushes me to do better, pushes me to want more, be more disciplined, and the atmosphere at Hartford, especially for the athletes, is just really, really good and supportive.
I always feel, and by the way, I've said this before, I'm a regular playing on the tennis courts that there at Hartford Community College. Like, I do appreciate, may they forever be lit. Thank you. I do appreciate that. Allows us to go like on a Sunday night and play some tennis. But like it doesn't have the vibe of your typical community college. It feels more like, or maybe the word is community. Like, it feels like it's a much more of a gathering place for the community than your average community college is. Coach, I mean, I don't know how to explain it that way.
Absolutely. I mean, it's I've been there for 12 years, and from day one, I've just felt like it has a home type of feel to it. You're comfortable being there. You can walk around at campus at any hour of the day or night. It's beautiful. I mean, and the facilities are amazing.
Dude, the tennis facilities, I can't say enough about. I gotta be honest with you, man. Like, and we don't have to worry because there's so many courts, there are so many options. They're so nice. Caleb, if I could give it back to you, why was it Hartford for you? Why was that? You're not from Hartford County. Why did you decide that was the next place that you wanted to be to continue your career?
Well, it all started with me having a meeting with Coach Verardi and him inviting me out to see the campus, to see the facilities, and I fell in love with it. And he spoke about his message and the direction that he wanted to take the team, and I was on board, and the rest was history from there.
How much has it helped you see all of the kids that have come through Hartford that have been able to move up to high levels and play really significant, D3, D1 lacrosse after their time at Hartford?
It's amazing, especially because a lot of those guys were my teammates, and honestly, I looked up to them. And seeing them do great things makes me think and makes me believe that I can do great things.
Do you know what's next for you? Have you?
I don't know.
Okay,
what's
all
next
right.
for me.
I don't want to put you on the spot. I always feel like it's an awkward situation for somebody to be working on it. We'll get there. You got time. Right now, you're worried about winning a national championship.
Exactly.
Priorities. Understood. I think Coach likes hearing that, right? Let's get the nitty-gritty. Next weekend, again, Hartford Community College for both the men's championship and the women's invitational. And you can go to both hartfordathletics.com or hartfordevents.com in order to find out more. Coach, do I remember right that, like, there's a chance that, like, you might get shut out if you don't act? Is there a possibility of that?
So the way this tournament works is there's 6 teams that enter the national tournament. So the top 2 seeds, the 1 and 2, they have a bye this weekend, and they go right into May 11th. And they will play the winners of the quarterfinal games this weekend, which you have us hosting a quarterfinal game at 12 p.m. Versus Howard Community College. And then on Saturday, you have Onondaga Community College up in New York hosting Genesee Community College. So the winners of those 2 games are going to move forward, and they're going to play against the number 1 seed is Essex, number 2 seed is Nassau.
Okay, so you got to get the job done. So you actually need people to come out this weekend, too. Like, obviously, we're promoting next weekend. That's the weekend that matters. But you need some folks to maybe step up this Saturday, too. And
come on out.
Yeah, help create that, like, crazy home field atmosphere to make sure you're there.
Yeah. It'll make you want to show up the next weekend.
Right.
Too.
You experience it. You're going to say, I got to be back here next week. I got to be part of the championship. Yep. Jess, I'll go back to you for a second. On top of, obviously, you mentioned being there to help host the event, how important is it also to support the guys trying to pull in another championship, and what does that mean to the entire Hartford community?
It's definitely family at Hartford, so we're just as excited as the men are for them to compete. It was super fun last year coming out and watching them play and then getting to celebrate with them. And at Hartford, like, we just love to see any team succeed. It doesn't matter if it's us or not. We're all going to be there to help each other out, support each other.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You love to see that. That's a very cool thing. All right, Coach, what's it going to take? What's it going to take? What do you got to do? What do you got to do to make sure that you're just not just playing, but that you're, and we don't say cutting down the nets. I don't know what the term I'm looking for, that you're celebrating again next weekend.
Yeah, I mean, we just say always compete. And, for us, that covers a wide range of things. But if you're putting your all into whatever it is you're doing, you're competing. That's what I believe. And I just think we gotta compete every day in everything that we do. If we do that, I feel really good about our chances. So we can live with it if we can say that we competed in everything we did.
Awesome. All right. Again, next Saturday and Sunday is what we're talking about. May 10th and 11th. No. Did I do that math right?
No.
11th and 12th. Sorry, 11th
May
and 12th.
11th.
Those
Yep.
are the dates. May 11th, the semifinal day, women's games first, followed by the men's games. And then on Sunday, the championship, the women's invitational championship at noon, the men's championship at 4. And again, HarfordAthletics.com, HarfordEvents.com. Go ahead and make your plans now to spend your weekend in Bel Air next weekend rooting on the Fighting Owls to a national championship. Coach, it's great to see you. Let's make this a permanent. Again, if it keeps working, you're going to have no choice. You're going to have
Absolutely.
to make sure for those reasons. And Caleb and Jess, I'll give you a chance. You want to plug your social? You want to plug anything like that for people can follow you?
Come out to Anne Arundel Community College tomorrow night for the women's to play Anne Arundel in
All right.
regional championship.
That's a big game. Get out and support that.
We need to win this
Get
game.
there.
We're going to win this game. It's going to be a good game.
There you go. And then the women's invitational. Caleb, anything else that you want to plug?
Just come out and support and look for your boy, number 44, on the field.
Love it, man. Hey, congratulations on everything so far, and best of luck next weekend. Appreciate you being back in here to hang out with us.
Thank you so much, Glenn. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
That is Coach Aaron Verardi as well as Caleb Hare, Jess Stout from Hartford Community College. Griffin, can we bonus a break? We'll grab one more break. We'll come back in. We'll wind things down for a Thursday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Discover one of Baltimore's hidden gems at Guilford Hall Brewery. Enjoy dinner in our spacious brew pub, sip a signature cocktail in our outdoor, dog-friendly beer garden, or take a tour of our brewery. Discover your new favorite local craft beer. From crisp lagers to hoppy ales, there's something for everyone to enjoy. Pair your brew with delicious appetizers and entrees. There are options for the whole family, but you have to try our fan-favorite giant pretzel. Guilford Hall Brewery, where every sip is a celebration. Visit us online at guilfordhall.com.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin, and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
Oh, honey, we better stop for gas soon. Let's pull into that Royal Farms.
Ugh, gas is so expensive.
Nope, it'll be cheaper than you think.
Why's that?
I signed up for Rofo Pay on the Royal Farms app. Now we save 15 cents per gallon at all Royal Farms.
Wow, that'll save us a ton of money. I love you more every day.
Well then, don't get a speeding ticket this trip, okay?
Sign up for Rofo Rewards and upgrade to Rofo Pay and save 15 cents a gallon on gas for a limited time. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Craving that classic New York deli experience? Look no further than the new Atman's Deli in Baltimore's Harbor Point. Corned beef piled high, hand-rolled bagels, and something different. A bar! Atman's has food and drink specials every day. Now open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Dine in, grab takeout, or hang out at the bar for the next O's game. Atman's Deli, an authentic taste of Baltimore tradition since 1915. Find us at Harbor Point or visit atmansdeli.com.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis. AJMichaels.com.
Hungry? With 7 locations throughout Maryland, Glory Days Grill is always right around the corner. They have wings, burgers, salads, sandwiches, and drinks to satisfy everyone, as well as tons of televisions and sound delivered right to your phone. Glory Days is the best place to watch football or whatever your favorite sport is. While you're there, be sure to check out Goose Flights Lager, named in honor of legendary Raven Tony Goose Siragusa. $2 of every can is donated to the Goose Flights Foundation. Glory Days Grill. Great food, good sports.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Thursday edition of the program. Today's show and tidbit of the day both brought to you by Atman's Deli in Harbor Point. It's everything you love about Atman's. Of course, a Baltimore institution, but now they also have a full bar in their brand new location in Harbor Point. It's the corned beef piled high, the deli sandwiches, the hot dogs, the soups, the desserts, everything about Atman's, plus a full bar for hanging out and watching games. atmansdeli.com is the website to find out their daily specials. What you got for tidbit?
All right, so last night, James Harden did not have a great game in the Clippers loss. But he did tie an NBA record for the most playoff games with 10 shot attempts and 3 or fewer makes. As he went, he only made two field goals in the entire game. He tied the NBA record with his 17th playoff game with only with 3 or fewer field goals made on 10 shots.
Man. That's so bizarre.
Any idea who might be a number or who
Not
he
a
tied?
chance.
He is a Survivor legend.
A Survivor legend?
Yeah, he won on Survivor.
Oh, my God. You would know that.
Of course I would.
A Survivor legend.
What NBA player was on Survivor?
Cherokee Parks was on
No,
Survivor.
he wasn't.
Christian Leitner was on Survivor.
No, he wasn't. Why would Christian Leitner go?
I don't know. I don't know why
Everyone
anybody
would
would be
know.
on Survivor. Was it like a celebrity Survivor? Or just
No, it wasn't. He was just on it. I mean, just Jeff Kent was on it like a normal season, too.
I have no idea.
Cliff Robinson.
If you say so.
Cliff Robinson.
You say so.
17. What do you mean? It's about what? About the stat or about
About
Survivor?
any of it. I don't
Well,
know
yeah,
how
he was on
anybody would be
Survivor.
expected to know that.
People would know that Cliff Robinson was on Survivor. 17 games with at least 10 field goals. That comes from Nick Wright, by the way. He doesn't give a lot of stuff, but I like this one. This one was funny. Also, Jason Kidd, 16 games.
So let me get this straight.
What?
They just put like famous people in with the other people on Survivor.
Sometimes, yeah. And a lot of people don't recognize, like that, like when because they're not A-list. So, like, some people knew right away. They're like, oh, my God, that's Jeff Kent. And then they, then they try to hide it. It's kind of funny. I like it when they have, these, like, kind of mid-tier athletes on the show. I think it's pretty funny.
Okay, whatever.
J.R. Smith, of course, is top 5 on this list with 10 shot attempts, 3 or fewer field goals made in a playoff game. 15.
All right, I can buy that.
Yeah, Bob Cousy as well.
Isn't he a golfer now? Didn't he go back to college
Carolina,
to compete?
right? Or Clemson? Was it Carolina?
No, it was like a HBCU, I think, wasn't it?
Oh, was it North Carolina Central then? Was it?
Yeah, I think that might be, or
Yes,
A&T, one of those two. One of those. I think that's where he went back to because he still had eligibility that he used for golf.
This one was very cool from Sarah Langs yesterday. So Ketel Marte,
A&T,
got it. And Chris Taylor each played their 1,000th career game yesterday, and they were playing against each other, the D-backs and the Dodgers.
Yeah.
It is the 5th. Surprisingly, this has happened 5 times or 4 times before. I'm not going to ask you to guess. But also, what was very cool about it was that that when Ketel Marte made his debut, he was brought up. When they were back with the Mariners, he was brought up, and they optioned Chris Taylor.
How about that?
And now they
That's
both played in their 1,000th career game.
How about
yesterday?
that?
All right, this was the one I was going to do yesterday. Ellie De La Cruz. Oh, man, why did I click away from him? Ellie De La Cruz had a very good April. He had 18 18 stolen bases, 7 home runs in the month of April. Sorry, I'm pulling it up. In the month of April, 17 stolen bases, 8 home runs. It is it's happened a few times. In your lifetime, though, he is the 9th player.
In my lifetime?
Yes.
So since 1983?
Correct.
Okay.
9th player to have 15 stolen bases and 5 home runs in a calendar month.
A calendar month.
Yes.
All right. 15 stolen bases. That's the problem is that, like, that's you're looking for base stealers. You're not looking for home run hitters here. So Brady.
No, Brady Anderson not on this list.
Ricky.
Yes, Ricky Henderson did it 4 times. The most.
How many am I looking for here?
I'm looking for 7 more. No,
7
6 more. Sorry.
Jesus.
There was only 8.
He didn't hit a lot of home runs, but I'll try Kenny Lofton.
No Kenny Lofton.
I mean, that's the problem. Is like the base stealers typically don't hit home runs, but you got to try for base stealers because 15 is a much more extraordinary number than 5 is. I don't ever remember Ichiro hitting 5 home runs in a month.
Not Ichiro.
Craig Biggio.
Craig Biggio is on the list. He did it in August of '97. So that's good. I'm glad you remember that.
Well, Biggio is base stealer. That's you're just trying to list base stealers. Johnny Damon.
No Johnny Damon.
Jacoby Ellsbury.
No Jacoby Ellsbury. 3 guys that
Devon White.
No Devon White.
Right, this is going well.
3 guys that have done it since 2000, and there's 2 more that did it pre-2000.
Tim Raines.
No Tim Raines.
This is good. This is good. Vince Coleman.
No Vince Coleman.
Okay. Otis Nixon.
No Otis Nixon. All right, so
Brett Butler.
No Brett Butler.
I'm just trying to come up with
the guy did.
How about Barry Bonds?
Barry Bonds is on this list.
I mean, the thing is, it's just hard because he did it at a time where he wasn't a home run hitter.
Mm-hmm. He did it he actually did it twice, July '91 and then September of '96.
No, by that point he was a home run hitter. Yeah. All right. Yuck. How about I'll throw a sneaky. How about Paul Molitor?
No, not Paul Molitor.
Robin Yount?
Not Robin Yount. The other guy, he did it in the summer of '86, 3 straight months. Or sorry, no, he did it 3 months and 3 months of a 4-month span. That he
summer of '86. Lenny Dykstra?
Not Lenny Dykstra.
Summer of '86. Summer of '86. Steve Sachs?
Not Steve Sachs.
Yuck.
He was a Cincinnati Red.
Eric Davis?
Eric Davis, 3 times.
Funny, I was about to guess Eric Davis before you said Cincinnati Red.
Then the other 3, I don't expect you to get. So one guy did this in 2020, September of 2020.
Nothing about 2020 happened.
I don't think you can get that one. But then 2 more you should get. 2016.
Jonathan VR.
No. 2016, 2004. The 2020 guy, Adalberto Mondesi.
Well, Alberto Mondesi actually was a hell of a base stealer.
Yeah. He had 5 home runs in September of 2020.
You know, he's Raul Mondesi's son.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well, that's what it is.
Oh, cool.
It's a whole thing.
Sorry.
2004 and 2016?
Yes.
And who are they with? Granderson?
No, not Granderson. One was with the
Fowler?
Nats, Nationals.
Nats.
2016.
2016 Nats stole a bunch of. That wouldn't be Robles?
No, not Victor Robles.
Eaton?
This was before him. Not Eaton. He was very young in his career when he did this.
Harper?
Not Harper. 2016.
Soto?
Not Soto.
He wasn't there yet, right?
You're all around those young Nat. He's no longer a Nat.
Yeah, he's no longer. Oh, Rendon.
No, not Rendon.
I don't remember him being that much of a base stealer, but maybe it was. Desmond?
No, not Desmond.
The hell was it?
What's another hint I can give you? I mean, yeah, he's fast. Hit some home runs. He's now on another NL East team.
All right, just tell me.
He's on a Philadelphia Philly now.
He's a Philly now, and it's not Bryce Harper.
It's not
Bryce
because
it's Trey Turner, right?
Trey
Damn
Turner,
it.
yes, Trey Turner in September of 2016.
Yeah. Okay. In 2004,
he did with this was the only stint. Actually, no, it was the first of 1 year he played with the Astros. Then he also played his final year with the Astros. But 04 he was with the Astros.
he started and finished with the Astros.
Well, he didn't start with the Astros.
What the hell?
He started with the Royals.
Started with the Royals. Derek Bell?
No, not Derek Bell.
2004. Started with the Royals.
And then he was kind of more known, he was with the Mets for a little bit from 05 to 11.
Oh, Beltran?
Carlos Beltran. Carlos Beltran in August of 2004.
Beltran is one of those players that when I think of him, I don't know what team I associate.
Yeah,
him
I
with.
know.
Like,
I
don't
think
know.
I'd normally do the Mets, but
yeah,
also
but like you
he
think
won
of-
that World Series with.
And you think about that at the end, right? Like, yeah, I guess you're right. It's the Mets that you probably should. But you're right. He was with the Royals for a while.
I know. I obviously don't have any real memory of that, but yeah, I don't have.
Carlos Beltran was with the Royals for as long as he was with the Mets. 7 seasons, both places. That is wild. All right, good
He
list.
was never an he was an All-Star once with the Royals.
Good list. All right, Tidbit was also brought to you today by the. You know what? It was brought to you today by County Sports Zone and your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. All of the latest in terms of high school scores, schedules, brackets. That's the big thing as we're getting into championship season in spring sports. You'll be able to find all of the brackets and updates every day. CountySports.zone, proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Now it's time for Tubular.
There is a place where tradition, family, and community gather, where the aspirations of talented young competitors takes root, and where the crossroads of history, culture, and renewal come together. This spring, experience America's newest and most innovative ballpark, Meritus Park in Hagerstown, Maryland, home of the Atlantic League Flying Boxcars. Plan your getaway today. You're welcome in Hagerstown, Maryland.
All right, Orioles, Yankees, Game 4. Orioles try again to clinch a series win, and Kyle Bradish returns 1 o'clock today. Orioles, Yankees. Carlos Rodon, of course, goes for New York. The game is also on MLB Network again in the rest of the country. Big day for local lacrosse. Right now, underway on Big Ten Network and the Big Ten Women's Tournament. Northwestern and Johns Hopkins at noon coming up tonight. Michigan and Hopkins in the men's semifinals. That's at 6 o'clock, followed by Penn State, Maryland at 8:30. All those games on Big Ten Network. CAA tournament gets underway today at Towson. Tigers host Drexel, 4 o'clock on Lacrosse TV. Delaware Fairfield is the second game at 7 o'clock at United Stadium. Did I say United Stadium? At Unitas Stadium.
Not a terrible name.
Yeah, right. It's actually not. No, you know what? You're right, but it wouldn't make sense because the team's not called the United. It make way more sense like in Minnesota or D.C. That would make all the sense in the world. And ESPN Plus, UMBC takes on Vermont at 4 o'clock in the America East semifinals. So a big day for local lacrosse teams. NBA playoffs tonight. The Pacers try again to close out the Bucks. Game 6 at 6:30 on TNT and True TV, followed by Knicks Sixers, Game 6 at 9. TBS Bruins Maple Leafs, Game 6, 8 o'clock in the Stanley Cup playoffs. The rest of the baseball today, Masson 2 for Nationals Rangers at 2:30. MLB Network will have Giants Red Sox at 1:30 locally. Then Guardians Astros at 8 o'clock. Big East Tournament lacrosse today on CBS Sports Network. Denver Villanova at 5:30. Georgetown Providence at 8:30. Golf Channel for round 1 of the PGA CJ Cup Byron Nelson, which sounds like a mouthful. That's at 4 o'clock. And Access TV for Impact Wrestling tonight at 8. Non-sports highlights.
It's actually a pretty busy night. There is John Mulaney and
I watched the David Letterman John Mulaney thing.
Oh, how was it?
It was. I mean, it's good. Truth be told, I'm an obsessed Letterman guy, but I like the variety of the late night show more than I like. His interview shows are good, but it almost feels like he's doing more of the interview than he is purposely trying to get comedy. And that's the tricky part for me is like I like David Letterman and he does find levity in there.
Make Glenn laugh, David. Come on.
Yeah, and that I don't want it to sound that way. Like I enjoyed it, but I have not watched all of them. Some of them I purposely avoided, like, Kanye West. I will not watch that. Had to have a moment this weekend with Griffin where we don't play Kanye West on the radio.
Music.
No, it does not matter. We do not give an anti-Semite more attention. That's the smallest thing that we can do is say, if you're anti-Semitic, we're going to ignore you. But I've not watched all of them. I've watched some of them. I think it's cool for David Letterman to do it, to sort of continue, having a presence. And John Mulaney's great, right? And like there were moments, but a lot of it was like about fatherhood and trying to find like levity within like conversation about fatherhood and addiction and all that. Like it was an interesting, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was worth my time to watch it.
He is also doing so he's doing live like stand-up specials all week because it's Netflix is a joke fest in LA.
Okay.
So he's starting live shows like at 10 o'clock tomorrow on Netflix. So and it's
okay.
gonna be like all
All right.
week, I think.
Okay.
So he's on Kimmel tonight, along with our boy Gary Clark Jr.
Love Gary
as well
Clark
on
Jr.
Jimmy Kimmel.
Love my cousin Gary Clark Jr.
Okay, yeah.
Somehow, I
Yeah.
assume.
It is of course season 3 of Welcome to Wrexham. On
Oh wait, that starts tonight.
Starts
Oh,
tonight.
holy crap! I'm excited now.
At 10 on FX, and then it'll be available on Hulu as well.
Great.
Of course.
That is great news.
And then some pretty good shows as well, and a couple movies. The Idea of You. This is the Prime Video movie with Anne Hathaway.
right?
Yes.
And who plays the young pop star?
I forget. Somebody I did
It's like a
not
boy
recognize.
band guy.
Yeah.
And she's 40 and supposed to be like, oh, I'm
Like a single mother.
By
Nicholas.
the way, I saw the trailer. She looks incredible because she's Anne Hathaway, right? I've always said the hilarious part. Do you remember there was a film called The Princess Diaries that Anne Hathaway was in?
Yeah.
And I have a friend from high school. We joke about this all the time. That like the bit of that movie was they were trying to present Anne Hathaway as being homely. Like, sure, Chief, go right ahead. Good luck to you.
Nick Galitzine. Nick Galitzine.
It doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah.
I mean,
he
I don't.
looked like he
I'm
was
sure.
another-
I'm sure he's very handsome. Sure, he
He
looked
was in
very
that
handsome.
show
in the trailer.
Mary and George that's on like Showtime right now with Julianne Moore.
Okay.
But
he's got working with older women.
yeah,
I
yeah.
guess is a thing.
And then on Peacock, there's a show coming out that's called The Tattooist of Auschwitz, and it actually looks really good. It's
And this show isn't supposed to be like mocking Harry Styles and
maybe it is.
what's her face?
Have to watch, I guess.
Jason Sudeikis' ex-wife. What's her name?
What is
Olivia Wilde. Is that her name?
That sounds right.
Yeah.
I think that's it is Olivia Wilde.
And she's dating. She left Jason Sudeikis for Harry Styles, right?
Was that ever like confirmed, or was it like?
Sure. Or maybe it wasn't.
Maybe
it wasn't like direct, but it was close enough that like we can say that.
Maybe it is. Maybe it is. It's a movie, by the way. Maybe it is mocking them. Who knows?
And not mocking, like, but like it's like a fictionalized version of the concept or something like that. I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe.
Whatever. Go ahead.
Very serious on this side. The Tattooist of Auschwitz. It's based. There was a book, and it was based on a real story of some Holocaust survivors. And so the guy he's the tattooist at Auschwitz. Like he IDs, like he inks
They're only
to
10
ID.
years apart. Harry Styles and Olivia Wilde. She's 40. He's 30.
So we just blew that way out of proportion.
Well, what's the idea? It's supposed to be between the age difference.
It's supposed
of,
to be she's 40. in
Yeah.
this, and then the kid is like 23 or 24, I think.
It's a
little
bit more. A little bit more. But he is a pop star, right? Like that's why I thought
In
of
the movie,
Harry,
yeah.
That's why I thought of the Harry Styles thing. All right, sorry. Go ahead. This is way more important, the Tattooist of Auschwitz, than my conversation about the age gap between Harry Styles.
Because it looks pretty good. So he meets a girl one day, and they have to like hide their relationship from all the guards and stuff.
Oh, okay.
And I wasn't completely sold, but Hans Zimmer's doing the score, so it looks really really
All
good.
right. And where is that?
Peacock.
Peacock. Okay.
Peacock.
All right.
The
Anybody
other
in it
ones, I didn't recognize either of the two leads. Maybe somebody else would, but I didn't recognize either of the two leads. Like they're not super mainstream, but they look very good. It looks like a pretty good show. On Netflix, A Man in Full. Jeff Daniels is like a big real estate mogul, and he ends up going bankrupt, and a bunch of stuff happens to him. He gets in fights with people. He sues a bunch of people. He has sex with a bunch of people.
All right.
Yeah, so,
I mean, that sounds
Diane
good.
Lane, Lucy Liu are in it, so it looks pretty interesting. Looks like it's got good potential. And then on Hulu, a documentary. I don't know if this would count as a book clubber, but it's called The Contestant. And so this is the true story of there was a Japanese reality TV show, and there was this guy named Nasubi who was left naked in a room for like a year, and he was tasked with filling out magazine sweepstakes so that he could like earn food. This was like the way that he would get food given to him.
Christ.
And everyone in Japan watched it as like a reality show. And apparently he didn't know that it was like being like live
What
on TV.
the F?
Yeah, it sounds really like it was the Truman Show essentially.
But he
like,
was
worse.
But he wasn't in on it.
Like apparently, like he knew that he was like signing up for like a contest essentially, but like apparently he didn't know that like it was like on TV. So he tells the story, and this is it's a documentary on Hulu. It looked
crazy,
pretty wild.
That is crazy, man.
Yeah. So yeah, it was big Thursday night for some reason. Yeah. John Leguizamo is going to be on Colbert. He's in a show that just came out. It's on this. It's called The Network apparently, and you can just watch shows on The Network. And he's in a show called The Green Veil.
If you say so.
Yes.
If you say so. All right. Very good. Very good. You can find all that at glennclarkradio.com. All right. let's wind things down. Thanks today to the crew from Hartford. Thanks also to Jake Mintz and to Mike Bordick. We'll get it up in the greatest hits section of the
Oh my God, it's so good.
tab at glennclarkradio.com. Stan will be in tomorrow. John Eisenberg, longtime Baltimore sports voice, will be joining us in studio tomorrow. We'll be talking about a new project that he is involved with. It's different. Like John, of course, is an author and all the many books that he's written. This is an audio project, so we'll look forward to talking to John about that. Anything else?
Stuff and things.
Okay.
We'll get ready to play the Reds.
It was like a
it was.
kind of thing going on here. But that's okay. Such is life. Take your wins. Thanks, everybody at Pressbox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Live Casino and Hotel, Maryland Jockey Club, Atman's Deli, AJ Michaels, Guilford Hall Brewery, Royal Farms, Ed Block Courage Awards, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, Costas Inn, the MSAA, Hartford Community College. Visit Hagerstown in Washington County, Glory Days Grill, the Baltimore Orioles, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin, at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Thursday evening. Go Birds, go UMBC, Towson, Maryland, and Hopkins Lacrosse. Duke sucks.